It is said that luck is the intersection of preparation and opportunity. My name is Tobias and welcome to Australian Hunting Backcountry, a platform where we will focus on all things around hunting in the backcountry, not just in Australia and New Zealand, but everywhere that backcountry hunting is possible. Every hunting trip should be a journey of learning, so join me as we explore gear, tips, techniques, hear lived experiences and discuss the unique places that backcountry hunting can take you. I appreciate you coming along with me as I try to increase our knowledge and help us seek out opportunities so that we might have better luck in the backcountry. For 2025, Australian Hunting Backcountry is proudly partnering with Nature's Perks and Gun Traders Australia. Nature's Perks, your gateway to the outdoors. Lawson and Jesse, the team behind Nature's Perk, are passionate about sharing the joys and benefits of hunting and fishing. They offer a range of membership options which give you opportunities to win amazing gear, learn from the best, experience unforgettable adventures and exclusive member perks. Your membership enters you in regular gear giveaways to win top quality hunting and fishing equipment. You can enhance your skills with their comprehensive hunting education courses available both in person and soon online. Your membership will include exciting draws for guided hunts and fishing charters, creating memories that will last a lifetime. And you can gain access to unique opportunities and experiences that are available only to their members. Join the Nature's Perks community today and unlock a world of outdoor adventures. Visit naturesperks.com.au to learn more and choose the membership that's right for you. Gun Traders Australia is a family-run, secure online platform for firearm enthusiasts across Australia to buy and sell firearm parts and accessories. The guys there are dedicated to fostering a community where responsible firearm ownership is paired with exceptional service and access to premium products and trusted providers. What sets Gun Traders Australia apart is a modern and user-friendly online platform with reliable search filters, making finding what you need even easier. The server is hosted right here in Australia, ensuring fast and reliable access, and a payment portal that is also proudly Australian-based, providing secure transactions without any information stored offshore. Check them out at guntraders.com.au. All right, thank you for joining me on this episode of Australian Hunting Backcountry. And today I am joined by a guest. We're going to talk about a couple of things. So first of all, I reached out to this guest because of a app that he is developing. And then after we got to chatting, found out that he had actually done a backpack style trip that we are planning for later this year. So reached out and now I got him back to talk about the trip and get some tips and advice from him. So Josh Forster, welcome. Thanks for making the time and recovering from gastro last week to join me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tobias. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So Josh, now, as I said, originally I reached out to you because of an app you're developing and your Instagram profile. But before we get into that, I'll just get you to give us the sort of elevator pitch about yourself. So tell us who you are, where you are, what you're doing, that sort of thing, and then how you sort of got into hunting and the hunting that you like.
Okay. Do you want the long-winded story or the short one?
As much as you want, much detail as you want to give, mate.
My name's Josh. We live sort of on the border of Victoria, New South Wales, sort of western border. I'm a regional manager of a big horticultural operation. We have about 4,500 hectares of almonds. So that keeps me very busy. We've got 3 entities over the 2 states, and we've just recently built a processing facility in Swan Hill. So process all of our own almonds in there, and they all get exported all over the world. And there's plenty going on there. I think we're in the middle of harvest right now. We've got about just under 200 staff on at the minute on the farm, so plenty going on. But it's a really, really good company that I work for. I've been with them for about 7 years now. So love what I do, love the people. And yeah, the almond industry, I was in the grape industry for a long, long time, managing properties there. And it was sort of back when it got really hard in that industry to make money. So I sort of looked around and looked at industries that were on the, I guess, the upward spiral, and decided to follow the dream of almonds, and I'm still there. That was about 11, 12 years ago. So
Right. Yeah. Mine.
very, very diverse. Like, it's a very diverse, different cultures, different, just walks of life, the amount of people that I've met, and heard, stories that I've been told. And yeah, it's an amazing industry. And we get a bit of a bad rap for, water use and all that sort of stuff. But the reality is we're as careful or as calculated with water as anybody, that does it well, because it is such a, a high priced item that we use. So yeah.
The grape industry, my understanding is it's a really volatile industry.
Yeah.
Like anything can affect the grapes. Like you get a frost. You get a frost too late. You get a frost too early. You get rain too early. You get rain too late. And then your harvest is ruined. And
yeah, there's some stories I could tell you, Tobias, about the grape industry. It's a for me, it was really, really good at the start, because it was like really challenging. There was, the grape industry actually wasn't too bad for pricing and everything when I got into it. But by the time I left, we were, dumping thousands of tons on the ground, because it was cheaper for us to buy it somewhere else than to freight it or to grow it ourselves. So yeah, you can imagine what that does to, pressurize. Like, it's like a pressurized cooker, that if you're not making money, then all of a sudden, we're cutting costs, we're cutting people, we're cutting all these things. And I just didn't really enjoy, like, there was no enjoyment in the role anymore. So looked at almonds, and almonds have been great. It's yeah, it's been a fantastic change for me. And I'm lucky enough to have a few friends in the same industry and a brother. So yeah, it's really, really good to be able to share your growing techniques, and even what you achieve for the year. It's very rewarding, because you can put in a whole season of effort and then see the rewards at the end of it, that
Yep.
through quality and quantity, and even just personal development. Yeah, it's good industry.
So behind the scenes there, and now I've spoken to your lovely wife at one point last week because of your little issue going on in the home. So tell us about all of that sort of structure.
Yeah, so with the gastro, you mean, or
Well, your family
yeah,
unit there.
the
Yeah.
family's going okay now, but I wasn't going real well last weekend. I somehow got a bout of gastro, and it nearly killed me. And I think men definitely get it worse than women, because that's just how we
It's the
handle
same
things, isn't
same
it?
with the
It's
flu, mate. Yeah,
flu,
yeah.
exactly. That's what I've been told. So the family's really, really good to us. We just had our second child, little boy, so that'll be very exciting. I'm sure my little girl's still going to be in tow when we're out in the bush and in the boat. But to have a little boy also is very, very exciting for us both. Em and I have been together for God, forever, 12, 13 years now. And obviously 2 children later, and developing apps. And she runs her own, pretty much does what you're doing here, runs her own podcast and EQ, I guess, mentoring platform. She originally was a school teacher, and ended up getting into a like vice principal role, and then had Rafi, and then decided that she wanted to make a bigger impact in the I guess the kid sector of teaching. And how she could get to the kids was through the teachers that are going to be teaching them. So decided to create a platform to support early learning or early grad students. And then from that, it flowed into emotional intelligence, and she just loves it. So she lives and breathes it. And and now, if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't even know how to use this microphone or any of this gear that's in front of me. But and she's been phenomenal with the app side of stuff too, with just even knowing how to do the YouTube, even like I'd have no idea. I literally would have no idea. I'm not a tech guy. My job is to be in the bush and pull a bow back or be in a boat and throw a lure. Like that's where I come into it. I'm definitely not the expert in the tech world. And she pretty much built her own whole platform herself. Like she didn't, there was no help from anybody else. She did it all herself. So hats off to her. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, mate. The kid thing is, mine are all a lot older than yours, and two of them have grown up and moved out of home and so forth. So I've only got my sort of young fella now. He's in the last years of high school. So making the most of the time that I've got, and I gave her that advice before. Don't wish the years away, because they're just gone so quickly. So. Now you're primarily a bow hunter, and
correct. It's sort of. I was thinking about this the other day after listening to one of your podcasts, that when you spoke about where did the origins of hunting come from for the individual. And I think for me, like, fishing's probably my number one. Like it always has been. I live and breathe fishing. We do a trip up north every single year where we tow. Over the years, the boats have got progressively bigger every single couple of years. I seem to go, this boat will do us 10 years, and then 2 years later I'm buying another boat. But it's more to be able to, not be limited to access to, I guess the next best fishing spot. But so fishing probably is a fair bit of the hunting aspect in me. But I think originally it probably come from our grandparents had a broadacre property. It was not a very big one. It wouldn't sustain a family these days. It was probably only 2,000 or 3,000 acres. But back in the 60s and that, it was quite sustainable to have probably 2 families or 3 families on that. But we would always go and stay there in school holidays. And I remember as a kid just being obsessed with, rabbit trapping or, catching rabbits. And back then, before all the bands and that come in with trapping and all that sort of stuff, we used to carry a little kerosene lantern around. Like, I'm talking, I was 5, 6 years old, and me and my brother, I got an older brother, he's 3 years older than me. We would go and set the traps on dark, and then, for the next 2 hours, we'd walk around these rabbit traps and check them. And I think that's where probably the passion for, and then we'd take them home and Gran would prepare them, and we'd actually eat the rabbits. And it was the whole process of being able to, get out of the house and go and do something that they allowed. It was probably a little bit risky for a 4 and a 7-year-old or whatever we were at the time. But back then that was just the norm. Like now it'd be like, you can't let your kids go and do that. But back then that was sort of normal for us. And so from going there, the excitement of catching the rabbits to then taking them back to the house where, Gran would be excited about the scenario that you've caught something. So you're pumped about being able to provide your grandparents with these rabbits, even though that they probably could have got the shotgun and gone and got 20 that afternoon if they wanted to. But yeah, for us kids, I think that's where it started. And I remember going through one of their old sheds one day, and we found these old fiberglass bows. They were like long bows, my brother and I. And we made these strings. There was no strings on them. Obviously, the strings, they would have been probably my uncle's from when he was a kid. So, he was probably, he's 30 or 20 or 25 years older than us. So it was like they would have been his back when he was a kid. And we strung these bows, made some strings out of like 100-pound cord, and yeah, we used to go and whittle sticks and shoot them around the place. And I think that's pretty much where the bow obsession come from. And I did plenty of hunting with rifles. Don't get me wrong. I was actually employed for a little bit there in 2000 to eradicate some pests that had coming down in plague proportion onto our cropping ground. We got a heap of permits and that to be able to eradicate stuff. So there was a part of my life where I did a fair bit of rifle shooting, but it sort of got to the point where the shoot was out of me, so to speak. It was sort of like I needed a challenge and something that took me back to, I guess, being a primate days sort of things, of being able to go out, be silent, because bows are, that's the beauty of being able to run a bow and being successful at stalking is you're very silent. So your ability to take more than one animal if you need to is higher than if you're running a rifle or a dog or something like that. But so yeah, that's probably where it all started, Tobias. I think of my grandparents, and they're still going now, and the time that we had out at their farm, that those you talk about, childhood and things disappearing very quickly because you grow up very quickly. If I could go back to live just one day walking around with a lantern in the sand dunes catching rabbits, I'd pay some serious money to be able to do that.
Yeah. So the bow hunting journey then that you've been on as an adult, because in previous conversations you said that a lot of it you've sort of self-educated on. So yeah, take us through that. Where did you sort of start getting serious about it? And when I say serious, I mean serious to the point that you're hunting buffalo with bow and arrow as well.
Yep. So yeah, exactly what you said. When I first started, probably bow hunting, 20 odd years ago, you didn't really have access to punch in something in Google and look at 10 YouTubes on how to tune a bow, or how to even what suits you, what length, draw lengths, all those things. That I've made countless mistakes with bow hunting, and it was exactly trial and error, and you just got better at it. And I honestly think too, if you're taking up bow hunting now, which you spoke about, that you're starting to dabble in it a little bit, it's I'm glad that I didn't have access to all the things back then, because it made me better at the small things. So it's like learning to shoot without a trigger. Like I had to do that because early stages, there wasn't really triggers. There was some triggers on the market, but we had no idea about D-loop string, or about how to tie stuff, or how anything. We just knew that if I held me two fingers there and aimed it there, the first bow I ever had never even had sights. So it was sort of all bare hand, and the shafts that we were using, we were going to our local fishing shop in town and buying just aluminium, whatever we could find. That they obviously were not sized to the poundage we were running. They were not, set up to our bows. Like all the things that could have gone wrong probably could have been a lot worse, because I had a little incident. So the first bow I ever bought, compound bow, was I did it online. I was able to buy one. It was probably about 2006 or so. It's probably 2006, something like that. But I'd always had long bows and recurves prior to that. So the first compound I got was a bear, and I bought it online. Didn't know what I was doing. Had no idea what draw length and size and everything. And anyway, this bow turned up. It was way too short for me. It was a 50-pound bear, and I still managed to get good enough to shoot that bare fingered and everything to take animals. But 2010, Bendigo, one of the larger places for around where we live, had a big expo that they were running, and they were promoting for weeks in the paper, and that was about 2009. And Em and I headed to that expo, and we got talking to the guy. There was 2 bow stands there. It was inside the big expedition building. There was about 400 people in this shed, and the guy from the bear archery had a big display of bear bows, and he looked at me, and I was quite I'm probably a lot smaller than what I was back then, because I was playing footy flat out, and gym, and like I was probably a lot broader and a lot stronger than what I am now. And he sort of looked at me and went, "Oh, 70 pound, probably about a 28 and a half, 30-inch draw length." It's like, oh, whatever that means. Great. Righto. So he hands me this solid trigger. So it's like it was just a plate with a hook on it that you physically can't dry fire. Like you physically, so they obviously do that for dummies, that when they're going to pull a bow back, make sure they can pull the bow back and not dry fire it.
Yeah, and that way you're not putting an arrow in it and running the risk of shooting it into the crowd.
Yes, exactly. So he hands me this bow and he said, "Oh, hopefully you can pull 70 pound back." And I was like, "Oh, I'll give it a go, mate. I'm not sure, but I'll give it a go. I've been pulling this 50 back pretty easily." So I pull this bow back, and Emma's standing next to me, and this bow just explodes. Like it just goes off like a bomb. And I've got it in my hand, and both limbs are shattered, and it's hit me in the arm, and there's blood going everywhere. And it's 400 people in this expo just turned and looked at me and Emma. And Emma just said to me, "I want to hide." Like she was about to get under the table and hide, because she was like that embarrassed. And everyone sort of turned at me and looked at me like I'd done something wrong. Anyway, I said to the guy, "Well, I don't want that one, mate." And he quickly grabbed it and hid it under the table. And he was like in shock too. He's like, "Oh, I don't know what's going on." From what I know now, I'd say the D loop probably pulled, and it went off, and it exploded the bow. But I had a couple of expert guys proceed to tell me not to dry fire bows, even though I'm holding this solid trigger. And I took it with a bit of a grain of salt and moved on. But that day, after the claret coming out of my arm, he decided to do me a very good deal on I think it was a bear charge. I think my first was either charge or a strike. I can't remember, one of those two. Because Paul and I my brother, we both ran the same bear bows, 70 pound bear bows, but we had one was a strike, one was a charge. So anyway, after a little bit of advice from him, we got suited to arrow shafts. Started running the 340s. I think we were running at that point, and we were getting access to the internet then. Like the internet was actually a thing. We were getting access to Google searches, and you could get on eBay and you could buy arrows. And so I pretty much ran a Eastern Power Flight shaft, because they were the cheapest but the heaviest spine that we could order for the 70 pound bow that we were running. And we were running Muzzy 3-blade Muzzies. They were pretty cheap too back then. You could get a set for about 6 set for about $37, and a full fletched set of arrows for about $80. But then I also got a trigger that day, and I went home and started to learn how to use the trigger. And obviously my grouping got a lot better after learning how to use a trigger and how to use sights properly, and learning all those things that we slowly learnt along the way of the progression of becoming a bow hunter. And I remember the first pig I ever took with that 70 pound bow. It just felt like so rewarding, because we'd been on this journey of chasing things around and flying arrows over backs, and not knowing what we're doing 100% there, and to being able to be there and knowing that you're going to make the perfect shot on. So like I got that good with that bear bow that like we never really practiced outside of 50 yards. Like that just wasn't a thing for us back then. I always thought that. And like this isn't being judgmental on anybody else's ability. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that can group a coffee cup at 80 yards. If you've got that ability, then that's great. You can take those shots, but you give the animal time to move. You give the animal time to the reflex. All those things that if you can get closer to the animal, you pretty much eradicate some of those movements that the animal, especially pigs, because pigs were primarily what we're hunting. We were hunting deer and pigs, but deer usually on the season and pigs all year round.
Yeah.
So wouldn't really take anything over 50, but I got that good with that bare bow, and it had a whisker biscuit. So anybody that says whisker biscuits are no good, I'd disagree with them. I think they're fantastic for beginner people that don't want to go spending a heap of money and just want something that holds the arrow in place and doesn't, move around or is silent. I ran that thing for nearly 10 years, and I took nearly every animal that you could possibly take in Australia with that bow. And yeah, I got that good. I was hitting golf balls at 40 yards every time. So it was only probably about a $600 setup originally when I first started out. But things probably 5 years later, I was paying $130 for arrow shafts and about 75 for the muzzies. So things quickly changed, and it turns into an expensive sport when you're hunting feral pigs that people want to either bait or dog or eradicate, and they're asking you to go in and try and make a dent in the population because they're devastating their crops and the ground and native animals and all the rest of it, and you're going out and shooting 10 pigs a day. It gets pretty expensive if they're snapping arrows or heads. Even the muzzies you can't use again. You pretty much put it through one, and they're razors, so you have to change out the blades at least. So that's pretty much where it started, and then I flowed into probably. I had a little bit of a break from bow hunting, Tobias. I sort of got it back into the fishing really, really, and so any time I had up my sleeve, I'd probably go fishing, or I started playing a bit of golf and that as well, and spending time with mates with the bow. The bow's a strange one because you've got a heap of mates when they want to go to the pub or they want to go out in the boat or something, but you don't have too many mates that want to put a backpack on and walk 25 k's in a day either, trying to shoot a smelly pig, as they would say. I think it's the hanging out with mates sort of took a bit more priority in those years of being 25 to 30 odd, and then picked it back up in the last. And access to country. Like we used to have a lot of country here that was cropping country and like big properties too, and they all got sold out to the national park. So that also affected us. We used to have access to deer and a lot of pigs and that, but once that all got bought out, and it was pretty much a water sale and land turnover, and now they aerial shoot and do all those things that we really
all those good things. Yep. Excellent use of a resource and government money.
Yep. The wasted meat and just even as you would know, overseas do it so much better than us with the tagging system and just even meat recovery, and we're so caught up in this. They're a pest, to get rid of them, instead of they're an actual
resource.
High valued resource with that's full of protein, and we're literally shooting them out of a helicopter and leaving them there to rot. And, the only thing it's feeding is the worms and the bugs.
So like we've sort of discussed and you mentioned before, my son and I are diving down the rabbit hole of bow hunting. So my goal for this year, it's now today's the 20th of March. So for those that know, the sort of the roar, the red deer roar is just about to kick off if it hasn't sort of started already. So my goal for this year is to take a red stag with the bow. For my son and I, we both want to score one this year. So we've decided we're going to leave the rifles at home this year on our hunting trip. So thankfully we've got a freezer full of meat already. No pressure. But it's a really, really interesting journey, and you sort of touched on it there before. I would liken bow hunting to long range rifle shooting, in that there's a lot of parallels with them, because you've got that time of flight, What's the animal going to do in that time? What are the other environmentals that you've got to take into effect? What's the range? The range becomes really important with bow hunting, as I've discovered, and to the point that 2 or 3 meters can make a big difference
Yeah.
to the impact. In rifle hunting, 2 or 3 meters doesn't matter. In long range hunting, 2 or 3 meters may start to matter a little bit, but definitely in bow hunting. So and thankfully I've got a bit of a cheat code. So I've got a good friend now who is a bow technician, and he's been helping me along the way and shortcutting the learning for me. So anytime I get curious about something, I contact him and have a bit of have an hour long discussion with him, and he sort of does this big information dump on me, and about 40% of what he says actually makes sense to me, and I understand.
Yeah.
But then we've also got the YouTube University as well. Like you were saying, there's so much information out there, and you can do anything on YouTube nowadays. You can
Yeah.
build a house, you can strip down a bloody Chevy big block, and you can build and tune a bow. So it's been a great exercise for my son and I, and it's something else that we can now do together as well. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. No. Yeah. You'll get to a point where you'll take an animal with the bow and that, and then everything just changes for you. All of a sudden,
Mm,
it's just like, how can I get better at this? And
mm,
how can I? It's
mm,
like an obsession almost. I've been seeing a pig of recent that's about 130 odd kilo, 140 odd kilo. That's where I've put him at, and I've
mm,
seen him probably 5 or 6 times, and he's been too smart for me every time. And now it's just like that's pretty much all I think about in me downtime at the moment. How
mm,
can I outsmart this guy? Because he's
mm,
gotten big from being very, very smart. And
mm,
yeah, so I wish you all the luck, and I,
mm,
I really hope that you do enjoy it, even if you're not successful. Because it took me probably bloody 2 years or something to get my first deer. Like
yep.
it took me forever, and we had access to a lot of deer back then. Like they were actually in quite good numbers in our area before this national park took over. But it's a rabbit hole. Once
Mm,
you start, and then you start getting obsessed, yeah, all of a sudden it turns into, if I get stronger, can I hold the bow longer, or can I get bigger poundage to be able to fly quicker? Can I, less movement with distance? I don't know. Yeah, it's unreal that because a lot of people, if they're in that niche that they do, which yours was always, rifle,
mm,
and backcountry and all that sort of stuff,
mm,
which is great. But to now you're changing the guard a little bit with the up close, personal with the animal
yeah.
almost, and trying to learn movements rather than spotting something and then being able to get in on it. It's like yeah, it's a different game.
Mm, mm,
But I think it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you're like enjoy the whole aspect of it, rather than just like, if you ask me what do I like about bow hunting, there's not one thing. There's a million things, and it'd be the same as you going out with a rifle. I bet you it's not the satisfaction of killing something. It's more the whole, like, I've done hunts where I've walked 50 k's in 3 or 4 days and not
mm,
even seen anything, not even
yeah.
pulled the bow back. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a it's just so rewarding. Even though you look back on it at the time, I think to myself, I'm never bow hunting again. Like at that point in time when I'm driving me sorry ass home and feeling sorry for myself, I think, why am I even doing this? And then it turns into, you get home and then you start thinking about it. And if I had done that, I probably could have got there, or I blew him up, so I had an opportunity there. Because I always say to people that come bow hunting with me or fishing with me, if you get an opportunity, that's okay. Like you either learn from it or you make it happen. But
Mm,
if you get no opportunities, then it's different. Like then I get a little bit disappointed that I didn't even give myself an opportunity. It's like you hook a meet a barramundi, you get at the side of the boat, it falls off.
yep.
At least you've given yourself an opportunity. I learned, had my rod tip too high. Okay, I've learned something here.
Yep. Yep.
Let's readjust and yeah, be better for it.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
that's
A good mate of mine has the saying, "You're either winning or you're learning."
yeah, yeah, that's a good one. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's very relevant.
One of the other parallels with long range hunting and bow hunting, and this is very relevant with what's happening in SA at the moment, is that when you talk to people about both of them, it always seems to bring up the question of ethics. And obviously, ethics is very personal, but have you ever had that question raised with you, and or how would you address it, or how do you address it with people?
Yeah. I have mainly on YouTube. You get a lot of criticism on YouTube.
Everyone's an expert on YouTube in
Yeah,
the
everyone's
comments
an
section,
expert.
aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
God. Yeah, and I feel like when I first started to get them to buy, so I took it personally, and I
Mm,
was like, oh, and I spent time trying to respond to these people and trying to actually give them the full story rather than whatever they want to believe in. But
mm,
I got to the point where they don't even want to know your side of events. It's like that they have an opinion, and then that's just it. There's
mm,
no where for me I go, well, that's your opinion, that's great, well, can we have a discussion about why you feel that way? But I have had plenty, and plenty are pretty much around the fact that they think that a bow hunter is the guy that shoots the kangaroo in the local park in Melbourne and it runs around with an arrow through its neck and they've
yep.
used a
Oh,
target
target
head.
tip. Yep.
That's not a bow hunter. Like, yeah,
Mm,
I would see 500 kangaroos a day when I'm out backpacking, and not once do we get an urge to go, I'm going to shoot that kangaroo. Like,
mm,
it's not. And in and an actual bow hunter that spent their whole life either in some form of hunting is generally there for a purpose. They're not there to just cull things because they get, well, maybe some are, but I don't know, maybe they're probably serial killers too. But um, for me, if you're really really good at your craft, which I'm a bit obsessive, where if I'm not good enough to say hit a golf ball at 40 yards, then I'm not going to take that shot. Like,
mm,
I literally get obsessive of being able to be better than the next guy. And we do it all quite often. Myself and my brother and my brother-in-law that hunt together, we generally have competitions in the backyard. So it's like we set up targets and we'll play the bow shooting competition.
yep.
And my heart rate there is higher than when I'm out hunting, because it's
Yeah.
just like, my peers and everything that are around me, I want to be better than them, and I want to be able to make these perfect shots every single time. So for somebody that really takes their craft seriously, there's no more ethical kill than a sharp, you know, two blade broadhead going through an animal's heart, and
Mm,
they're, like 30 seconds and they're fully expired, and there's nothing. Like, it's and then from that, not so much the pigs, because the pigs, a lot, obviously I shoot a lot of pigs that are eating dead pigs, so a lot of the pigs we don't eat. If
yep.
we do get ones that we know have been on grain and that, we will eat them.
Mm-hmm.
But all the deer, every single deer that we ever take, we take everything and we turn it into sausages and salamis and you name it. we
Yep.
we do it with the deer. And we even the goats that we hunt, we save all the goats. I'm not a massive goat hunter, but we take everything that we shoot and we process it
Mm,
every single time. And we might mix it with other stuff. We might mix it with lamb, and we mix it with pork, and we mix it with other things to make
mm-hmm.
it a little bit taste a little bit better. But yeah, I think that if you start talking ethics with a bow hunter, that there's no question in my mind that the 90% of the population that bow hunts is there to perfect the art of bow hunting and be as clean and ethical as they can possibly be.
Mm, yep.
Because
Yep.
they're not going to put in a massive amount of effort to walk kilometers and kilometers and kilometers to shoot a deer and then walk away from it. Like, it doesn't, like, that to me isn't what a bow hunter, or even probably a rifleman too. Like, there's no, like, for me, it's no, if they're going to go to the effort of spending all that money and getting in the bush and putting in the effort and everything to waste that meat, it just doesn't seem logical to me.
Mm,
It's just,
mm,
yeah.
yep.
So, but you do get questioned, mate. Yes,
Yep.
and I'm sure you would have heard plenty of people say that in the past. So, yeah, which is disappointing, very disappointing.
Yeah. And, it would be there's already so much negativity around and aimed at us, as hunters in general, collectively. And when I say hunters, I include fishermen as well, or people who fish, to use non-gender specific language. But because that's a form of hunting as well. And there's already so much hate and negativity. I mean, look at the protests that are going on at the moment with the duck hunters and all of that sort of thing. That we don't need to internally share that sort of negativity around as well. If you don't have something positive to say, or a genuine question or something like that, then maybe keep your keyboard out of arm's reach.
It's funny you should say that, and you've just hit a nerve with me, because somebody asked me the other day, what's your Australian hunting versus, like I've had a little bit to do with the guys over in the States now. I travel a little bit over there for work and that at times, and you go into the local, there's a outfitter on every single corner, and you get to talk to them compared to Australia. There's nobody, and I talk to them about, hunting and everything. And it's totally different. I feel like in Australia, it's that tall poppy syndrome is massive in Australia. And I don't understand why it actually exists. It's like, I was listening to a podcast the other day. I think I reckon it was on the Melbourne Football Club, and Max Gorn was talking about, their culture that they had prior to winning the grand final of how they would win a game, and say a McGovern or somebody on the halfback would get 10 intercept marks and absolutely win the game for them for sure. And they'd go around the room at the end and pat everybody on the back, but then two people would be like, "Oh yeah, but you had no man," or like there's always a negative side to our humor, and I don't know why it actually exists. It's like, and I find myself doing it. Like I make comments and then throw cheek in later, and you go, "Why'd you even say that? Like that doesn't make any sense at all." Instead of actually pumping somebody up, and it's even with the app stuff and that we've even noticed like a lot of people around us that I wouldn't have thought would have supported us, but they're pumping us up, and then other people you go, well, I haven't seen them share anything or follow anything, and you get a bit disappointed, and you wonder whether it's it's just the Australian culture of tall poppy syndrome. If somebody starts to look like they're succeeding, we're going to shit on them, and I don't know why we do it, but in the States it doesn't really exist like that to me. The guys in the shops that you talk to and the local hunting guys and that, they were pretty much, if somebody shoots a deer down the road that goes a certain size or whatever, everyone's up and about it. They're not, he probably hand fed it, or he probably shot it in the neighbour's paddock, or, there's none of that. It seems like we do that too much in Australia. I don't know why we do it.
I agree. I remember hearing that years ago, not even in relation to hunting or anything like that, but somebody, I can't remember if it was a politician or an Australian celebrity, but they were complaining about the tall poppy syndrome in Australia. It just seems to be really prevalent over here for some reason. I remember years ago, there was a YouTube video by Rockslide. They did a gear review or something or other, and I posted a comment on it, and it had a bit of a negative slant to it as well. And I got roasted in the comments, like the replies to it were, and it made me reflect. It was really good because there were all these, and most of them I'd say were US people, and I went, you know what, that's actually really fair point. I'm going to take that on the chin, and I'm going to remove that comment, and because it wasn't right, I shouldn't have put it on. So I guess. Nobody's perfect is the moral of the story there. But if it's nowadays, I definitely, if I see something that I don't like, I just think, okay, I don't like that, I don't agree with that or whatever, but I'm not going to post a comment about it because I don't, my opinion doesn't really, if I've got a question for them to maybe even see whether my opinion is wrong and maybe I need to change my way of thinking or educate myself or something or other, I'll ask the question. but I won't just post in there, oh, I don't agree with you doing that, or that was stupid, or something like that. So yeah.
Opinions are a little bit different to a comment. Yeah, if somebody asks my opinion, I'm a very everyone would tell you that I'm a straight shooter. If I don't agree with something, I'll soon say it, but I won't. I literally will not get online and start hating on people, even if I don't have the opinion that they're doing the right thing. Like
Yeah.
So there's a lot of haters out there.
Well, speaking of YouTube, so that's one of the other reasons why I wanted to get you on. So your YouTube channel, Hooked on Life,
Yep.
got some great bow hunting videos on there. But the one in particular that is going to be the focus for us today is the backpack style buffalo hunts that you've been on.
Yep. Yep.
So tell us about those. How did they start, and then take us through that last adventure that you had.
Yeah, the buffalo. I think you get to a point where the pinnacle of big game in Australia is probably a buffalo or a scrub bull as far as size and hide and all that sort of stuff that goes with hunting big game. So I'd always had it in my head that I wanted to hunt them, and I also wanted to take the meat and see what the meat was like. You go to the local shop in the NT and buy a buffalo burger, but you're probably eating somebody's cow from down the road. But so I always wanted to actually see what the meat and what that actually tasted like, and what you could do with it, because it's such a large animal. We're generally usually limited to space when we are up there, because we either fly in, or if we're on our fishing trip, we don't have a lot of room to be carting the full buffalo home. So we usually tee up with some people up there to be able to, give the meat out and move it around.
Yep.
But it all started probably about 3 or 4 years ago. We were on a trip up there, the annual fishing trip, and so for context, I've been towing a boat up there since 2006. So I've been, it's about 3,500 k's from home to Darwin, and for pretty much those 18 years, I've missed sort of 2 or 3 in total. So towed the boat up there a lot, and usually spend about a month. We used to do the daily river system pretty much religiously, like that was our system. And then when the times got tougher with the commercial fishing and the amount of competitions and everything that they were running on that river system, it sort of pushed us out to explore a bit more of the NT. And in doing so, met a lot of people sort of in that Mataranka, Catherine area, up through to Shady Camp. We travelled all the way through to Arnhem Land, Cahill's, east.
Yep.
Yeah, we fished east, south, all the systems pretty much. And along the way, you get to meet a lot of people. You pull up at the local pub and have a few beers, and people ask you where you're from and what's going on, and then in turn, you generally, it's such a small world, because the amount of people that I've met that know people that I've played footy with. We used to get a lot of the Aboriginal guys down from Darwin to play in our local league, because they were so skillful, and they were in their off season, so they could actually come down and play in our on season. So got to meet some really good guys. One ended up being a police officer in Darwin, and so I kept in contact with him. He would give us access to be able to go to places and fish remotely, and also get us on some ground to be able to. We weren't really hunting; we were just more exploring at that time. And then it flowed on to meeting, generally some good people up there that had property, and now it's sort of linked up with. I've got another mate up there that runs a big fertilizer company. So he's pretty much in on all the landowners, and yeah, we get a bit of access through him, and he looks after us a bit. So, but the obsession with the buffalo come probably that year, 2019. That on the daily there was a lot of buffalo coming back from the boat ramp. Like you would see buffalo all over the roads; they would be everywhere, and I was just in awe of these animals. Like these animals that are just like built like tanks. They're just different, and you can't even compare them to any other animal until I saw a scrub bull, and those things are even more impressive. Like an actual full blown mature scrub bull that stands 6 feet tall and just looks like he's rippling in muscles. And Tyler and I, my brother-in-law, we jumped out of the boat one day and we're flicking in this little creek, and I just felt like I had eyes on me, and I felt heat on me almost. And I turned around and there was this scrub bull, and it was only 20 meters from us. And I've never seen anything like it. This thing looked like something, that out of a Harry Potter movie. Like it was just rippling in muscles and staring us down. And it almost looked like the El Toro monster truck with the smoke coming out its nose. It did. And I said to Tyler, don't move, whatever you do, and just stand your ground. And we just stood dead still, and he ended up walking past and going and getting a drink, and then left us. But so I think that's where the first encounter with buffalo and scrub bulls come from. And then it was always, where can we, get access to be able to go and hunt these? And then, through years of going, 15, 20 years of traveling up there, eventually getting the opportunity. I'd had plenty of offers, but they were offers of, sort of areas that they didn't have fishing or any of that sort of stuff as well. So it was sort of like you had to either be traveling up there just specifically for bow hunting, where we were always on a trip of fishing and the other boys weren't into bow hunting. So it was, it was only going to benefit me and not the other boys. So Tyler, my brother-in-law, he's just taken up bows. I eventually wore him down, and now he's got the obsession of being a bow hunter as well. And he's been on a few of the YouTubes, as you would have seen. He's fanatic bow hunter now. That's pretty much all we talk about.
Yeah, good.
Used to be where we go and fishing, but now it's he blames me because he reckons he'd have a lot more money if I didn't get him into fishing and I didn't get him into hunting. But he also says that he doesn't even know where his life would be if he didn't go down that road. He was a very serious footballer at the time when I first met him, and once you get old and your body gets a little bit worn out, and the reality comes that you probably can't keep going in as hard as you do or keep the peak fitness that you had, then you've got to choose something else to do. And he's very, very passionate bow hunter and fisherman now. And so he's on board with me. So now I've got a partner. My brother used to do a bit of it. He doesn't really travel much anymore. He doesn't do planes. He's not a fan of planes, and he's got 3 kids and a fair bit going on at home. So I would have loved to have got him up there and been able to experience a buffalo hunt with him. But maybe we will eventually. One day we'll get up there. But being able to have Tyler in tow now, we started to plan the buffalo hunt. And the one that you're speaking of that we did just recent. So I'd taken 2 buffaloes previous to that. My first buffalo hunt was 2020, I think, and I managed to get one, and then I only had one day to do it. And then in 20, and that was on a fishing trip. I just one of the guys in Mataranka that we met at the springs actually took us out the next day, and I was able to get. He said, "There's a 40,000 acre paddock. You pretty much can't go too far." So I was like, righto, and off I went, and I ended up getting one that day, and I got another one the next year, the 2021. Similar scenario, same property. But this one we wanted to plan out. We got access to some other ground through that guy I was talking to you about with the fertilizer business up there, and the property was it's quite a large property, but it's pretty skinny. But we sort of we mapped it all out. So Tyler and I sat down and I always wanted to do a build-up hunt. So everybody talks about build-up hunts, how hard they are. There's heat and the lack of water and the lack of food, and the buffalo push out into other areas instead of being close to where all the floodplains are. And this property didn't really have access to any floodplains that had food on them. So it was all hills, and it was all like little, I guess, treed areas. And the property owner pretty much dropped us off at one end. And as the crow flies, it was probably only 25 k's back to the main hub where the ute and everything was. But to do it in a zigzag, following water, what we thought was water, that there wasn't much water. It took us about 47 k's over 3 days. So we started to plan the trip. It was October. It wasn't planned very long out, Tobias, to be honest. Tyler and I are hopeless with pre-planning things. It's sort of like, I have an idea, I ring him and say, what do you think? And then he goes, oh shit, mate, you're giving me 6 weeks to prepare for something like this. And I'm in, he runs his own big broadacre property, so he's got a lot going on, and he's got a young family as well. So I gave him no time, pretty much 6 weeks. I got into the gym and got the backpack on and started to do a lot of work myself, but he didn't really have access to that time. So he was going pretty much with no pre, I guess, exercise or anything really. He was just going off his natural fitness that he runs most of the time. So we planned it. We flew into Darwin. We took all of the idea was, in our heads, we wanted to fully backpack, fully live out of all the water sources that we could find, and just push our bodies to breaking point almost. And it was, I remember thinking at the time, how hot could it be? Like I've been fishing up there in June. It's not that hot. Anyway, we rolled into Darwin. We had our big backpacks on, and we had a day to get organised. As you know, you can't fly with gas bottles, and we didn't cart food with us, so we had to wait for the shop to open in Darwin. And Darwin time runs about an hour behind every other time, because the stores open about 9 o'clock. And by the time we got organised and got gas bottles and
pretty cash in Darwin,
very cash. I could tell you some stories about how casual. I had a car blow up there one year on a fishing trip, and it took me a week to get another car, or someone to look at the car and then tell me that it's no good, and then another week to buy another car to drive it home. So,
I remember trying to buy a buddy. We blew a tire on a trailer and wrecked the rim, and trying to get a new rim in Darwin for this trailer was like a 4-day episode.
Does not surprise me. No. So we load up all the gear. We head out. It's about 450 odd k's out. We met up with the owner. He took us down. He sort of mapped it out a little bit. I used to just run the GPS mapping on my phone. Tyler he'd purchased an inReach, because a lot of the hunting we do around home here, I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit stubborn, but I don't carry any sort of communications. If I'm out bush, I don't want access to any of that communication. And things will change now with a young family and all that. But back when I was younger and I didn't really have anybody to be calling at night, and Em and I ran a little bit of a different race to most people. She'd disappear for 3 days over a weekend at horse shows, and I'd go bush, and we wouldn't talk to each other for 3 days. That's just how we operate. But so now, looking at it moving, further into going more remote, I will look at getting something in the future. I don't have anything at the moment, but Tyler wanted to be able to communicate with his wife, and so he got an inReach, and so we had that with us. So we did have a form of backup, I guess, in that security. So we got dropped off. It was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Peak heat. I might add, peak heat, and there was just no airflow, zero airflow. And we started walking, and the first hour, your body was just adjusting to the heat, because you've been in the aircon of the ute, you traveled in the plane, you had a bit of jet lag, we had a few too many beers with a fella we stayed with that night, so we had all the things going against us. But the first hour, I felt like I was drowning. Like, I literally felt like I was drowning, and it was just the humidity. When we were there, they had I should have taken a screenshot of the news clip, but they said it was the hottest 4 days or whatever they'd had in that month to date, or whatever it was. But I remember seeing the article, but a few people sent it to me because said that you were there when it was pretty peaked out with humidity. It was about 93% humidity, and it was where we were was averaging about 41, 42 degrees during the day, and zero airflow means that the humidity is just amplified. Like, it is just, you can't. And we were carrying, like, I know you talk about carrying a fair bit of weight in the hills and that, but we tried to cut as much weight as we possibly could because we knew that we were going to be battling the heat. So I was down to about 23 kilos. And Tyler was pretty similar. He might have had a little bit more. My bow's a little bit heavier than his, so we were pretty similar. But we'd taken in 4 liters each of fresh water and dehydrated meals, and when we were walking, I felt like I was drowning. Like, I physically felt like my body wasn't used to it. It was shock. It was sort of like this feel that you couldn't get air in. It was like you were trying to punch it into yourself, and you just couldn't get it in. And I think a fair bit of it was probably, like, looking back now, was probably a mixture of anxiety and the heat and everything that was making your body, like, peak at, trying to suck air in. And the more you focused on it, the worse it got.
Yeah, right.
So it's like a scuba diving. I don't know if you've ever been scuba diving. When you get underneath there, you're panicking because it's like, oh, I'm trapped here. And then once you actually relax your body, it's okay. Your body sort of settles down. And so once I sort of started to talk to myself and calm the whole situation down, I actually, started to be able to, cover some ground and not struggle too much. But we did 11 Ks that first day, and we thought we were meant to find 4 or 5 sections of water, and we got to every single one of them, and there was nothing. And we're thinking, this guy he's just set us up here, and we're not going to find water, and we've got 25 Ks to travel, and we've only got 4 liters each. Anyway, that night we eventually hit water. We did find a pool of water, and the pool of water wasn't very inviting. There was a lot of buffalo poo, and it was just pretty much green and yellow. But we did have the big MSR drip filter bag that we were using, and we only took one of them. Being amateur water filter guys, we had no real idea what we were doing, and we took one thinking that we'll be able to punch an hour through that, a liter through that an hour, and we'll be fine. But we were both drinking a liter of water an hour, and I think the first day we drank 9 liters between the two of us, and we actually had to pull up in that area that night and camp. We hadn't really seen any sign of buffalo. There was bugger all. Like, there was literally, because there was no water or access to much tucker there, so we haven't seen a footprint. We haven't seen a poo until we got to the water, and then so we're a little bit, I guess, beaten at that point, where you're thinking, geez, like, we're not even going to see something. And we're carrying camera gear as well, and camera gear isn't that heavy, but we had a tripod and that to try and make it more steady when we're in shooting spots and bits and pieces, which I don't use anymore. I've learned how to use a camera a bit better, but that thing's bulky and it's sort of more annoying to carry rather than its weight. So we had to camp at that water source for the night to filtrate water, and the filter was blocking up that often that we were just like, it was slow, very, very slow. And if I was to do it again, we'd definitely be taking 2 sources of filtration just to be able to speed that process up, because we got limited to I guess, hunting time, because we were worrying about water that much that we were finding puddles and filtering it for a couple of hours at a time, just to get enough to keep going. Sleeping was fun. We took so I had a I had a Nemo Hornet. It's a 2-man. We both had those. So, nice little tent. I wanted something that we could take the whole roof off and you just had a mozzie net, because the mozzies are, pretty bad in those sort of areas. Although there was that little amount of water there, that the mozzies weren't actually too bad where we were. But we wanted something that you could be out in the open but if you got a storm come through, you could chuck the canvas over the top and you were okay. But so that little tent was good. I didn't have any issues with it. It was very easy to pack up and very easy to set up, and gave us a nice little shelter that we could sleep in. I was running at that time a big Agnes blow up inflatable mattress. I messed up there a little bit. I went with the regular size. I wish I went with the large, because it just doesn't allow my arms to sit on it, and it's sort of like you feel weird when you're laying on it at night. It feels like your arms are sort of dropping down beside you. So if I was to purchase another one, I'm a bit over 6 foot, and I'm not, I'm a little bit wide on the shoulders, but I'm not a very big guy. I would definitely love something that's about a foot wider on each side. So I'll definitely be looking at updating that.
Yeah, I'm the same with you, mate. I because I sleep on my back, and I find that sometimes my arms slip off the side of the mat, and then you end up on the cold ground, and you end up with cold spot there. I've contemplated buying a 2-person airbed, because it's pretty much 1.5, like they're designed for, obviously for couples, not for 2 blokes to share. But I've contemplated buying a 2-person one just to try and overcome that.
It's like you said, mate. I think it's a 1.5 really. So I'll be doing the same thing. 100%, I'll be doing the same thing. It's probably for the little bit of extra weight to have that comfort. It's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
But so I had
obviously a sleeping bag wasn't a necessity then for you.
No, not at all. We didn't even pack one. We literally didn't pack one. We sort of looked at it and went, okay, if you get cold, maybe just put a t-shirt on or something like that. But literally didn't even pack a sleeping bag. It's something that I've been looking at getting for these for the next hunts, because I was running quite a heavy sleeping bag, just what I had laying around the house last year over the rut raw, and it was very heavy, and it's something that I need to upgrade. The sleeping bag's definitely something I need to upgrade. But I had the Nemo pillow too, and I rate that thing. I really do. It's I can sit on it when I want to, and it's got a padding on one side, and you can blow it up to whatever you want. So that little pillow was really comfortable. But the airbed, the mattress, we were having to tip them over every couple of hours, because we were just having sweat in the where the obviously the design for the airflow and everything. They were just filling with sweat, and literally having to tip. I was just turning it over, hop back on it, turn it back over, hop back on it. So we weren't getting much sleep, and we didn't want to camp out in the open. I think there's a little bit of risk in, you don't know buffalo and scrub bulls and how aggressive they are, and if you're out in the open, whether they'll actually come in and look at what you are or what's going on. So we tried to put ourselves in the trees, and like have points where you could, there was trees and bits and pieces that stopped them to having access through, and it wasn't like like vines and all that didn't make it easy to access us. So we were in the trees, and there was no airflow in the trees. So it was double hot. I don't think it got below 30 at night, any of the nights that we were out there. One thing I did learn is you don't eat much when you're very, very hot. Right. We overcated the food to the hills. We took in way too much food.
Right. Yep. Good tip.
We probably ate 4 meals over 3 days, and we lived on snacking on bars almost, because you just could not get you couldn't eat a hot meal. Like it was like, we knew we had to for energy and to try and keep our bodies fueled, but you just couldn't eat it. You were trying to force a a dehydrated meal into yourself in the morning, and it just wasn't working for you. Your body would feel worse for it. So we pretty much lived on protein bars for those 3 days. So yeah, food was one thing that, and if I went again, I think I'd be smarter with, cold food. Like, I don't know how you would do it, but being able to either take stuff that was dehydrated that you didn't have to heat up, rather than the meals that have to take boiling water to actually.
You can do a thing called cold soaking. So
Okay.
if you take a container, a watertight container like a thermos or something like that, that's obviously you've got to be conscious of the weight. And then at the start of the day, you put your dehy meal in there, fill it up with the required amount of water, and just screw the top on, carry it around in your pack. And by the end of the day, it's rehydrated.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's good. I'll be definitely thinking of something else other than what we were trying to. We even took coffee. I don't know what the hell we were thinking, but you wake up in the morning after sweating for the whole night, and you want to have what do you want? Oh, I want to put my head in an ice bath.
Yeah,
I'll have a coffee.
Mate, I'm pretty confident. I'm so reliant on coffee. I'm pretty confident. It doesn't matter how hot it is. I'm still going to have a hot cup of coffee in the morning. Yeah, but yeah, maybe not. Yeah, the trick is to find a dehy meal that is palatable cold.
Yes.
So
yes.
I bet
we took a couple of the on-track meals and ate them cold, and they were the meals that we did actually eat. We ate that steak cold, and they were quite tasty cold. So, but because of weight and flying up there, that was the main thing. We couldn't find them in the NT, so we took 4 meals from down south here that I'd ordered, and we took them with us. But we were thinking that we needed more meals, a lot more meals. So we went to Anaconda and bought a heap of other meals. But yeah, the on-track stuff, at least you can, it's eat it cold, I guess, and it doesn't, you're still getting the same effect.
Yep. All right, good tip too.
Yeah, so from there, we kept moving, trying to find water sources. That was the aim of the whole marching aim. Really, it was trying to find. So there was a lot of hills that sort of flow into water sources, I guess. A lot of little, probably when it floods and that, they get cut out. So there's a lot of like those sandy little creek beds and that you could follow, and then it'd open up into what would probably be a little bit of a floodplainy sort of stuff. That so we walked that for the second day we did, I can't even remember now, 16, 17 Ks, and it was pretty much dictated to by how much water we were needing and how we were filtering it, and the quality of water that we were filtrating. Like, it was, if you watch the YouTube, you'll see the quality of water. It's like when Tyler's getting the water out of the, I look and I go, there's a poo right there. Like, literally he's scooping up the poo at the same time. And it's like, okay. And filtering it, and those filters are really good, but because they're so fine, they block up very quickly. And we were, it was a very slow process to be, it was taking us an hour to get almost a litre, and we were drinking that if we were actually pack marching with all the weight on us. And we would get to areas that we thought were huntable, and then we'd put all the gear down, and then we'd go and hunt them for the afternoon or the early morning. So that was the game plan. Pretty much find water. Once we found water, set up for a morning and a night and a morning hunt in that area, and try to find them. And they were almost playing games with us. You wouldn't get access to them at all during the day, and then you'd get 15 minutes in the morning, pretty much, that they'd come out of the trees because it was so hot and there was so limited amount of food there. And then at night they'd bellow all night and pretty much laugh at you. That's what it felt like. It felt like they were pretty much saying, "Ha ha." In the middle of the night, you were listening to them going, "They're only just over there," but So that went on for about 3 days until pretty much the last day. We found an area that looked quite promising. There was a lot more sign. We wanted to do the morning there, so we stopped. We even knew that we were going to be walking in the heat of the day back to the vehicle the next day, but we thought, no, we want to stop, 15 odd Ks, this side of where we've got to be tomorrow, just so the morning we could hunt that area. And I'm very, very glad we did, because poor old Tyler, he carried a bow and everything around for 3 days and didn't even pull it back. We got access to one bull that showed we were sort of on a bit of a plain, looking down through trees, and I just got movement. And if you've ever hunted buffalo, those white stork birds, they sit either on the buffalo or they're next to the buffalo, and they follow them around. And I got a glimpse of this white little movement in the trees, and I went, oh, it's probably one of those birds. Is there something in the area? And then all of a sudden he just pops out and he's sitting on his back, and he's riding this buffalo. And straight away we were that buggered and fatigued and almost given up hunting at that point, to, oh shit, there's actually a buffalo out in the open that we might actually get a chance of getting in and stalking and ambushing. So straight away I just went into hunt mode, ditched the pack, got set up. There was sort of like a line of trees that separated me from him, and he was heading to the thick trees, and it was literally daylight. Like, I knew I had 15 minutes of making it happen before he got into the trees, and then we'd never see him again. And so I got to an ambush point. He was walking. He wasn't feeding because there wasn't that much there to eat on, but he'd been down to water. So we knew where the water source was, because that's where we'd got water the night before. And he was coming back. So I picked an area to get to, and I almost ran at the end to get to, being within a 40-yard shot. And I made movement just to get him to stop, because he was moving that quickly into that cover, to go and rest up for the day, that I had to actually almost spook him to get him to turn and go, what's that?
Yep.
And it ended up playing out okay. Poor old Tyler was running along behind me with a camera trying to make it all happen. But the reality is, you very rarely get the perfect angles with cameras, and YouTube, it's a very tricky world. People just like, oh, why is he not there, and why is he not there? Well, yeah, when you're hunting animals that have very, very good hearing and eyesight and smell, two people moving around that look like a chain of people walking along, blow you up very quickly. So I got into position. I got into a 30, and I had the ranger. I arranged the ground that I knew he was going to come out in. So I had a bit of a range. I'd done a fair bit of practicing over the years of, I didn't run a rangefinder up until 5 or 6 years ago. So you get pretty lazy these days with not being very good at ranging distances, because you've been out of practice. But I'd done a little bit of pre-ranging prior to him coming out of these bushes. Anyway, perfectly come out broadside. I sort of spooked him a little bit. He turned. I put it on the 30. I've got a spot hog, fast eddy, triple stack. So I've got access to be able to have the top pin at 20, 30 and 40 with the 3 pins, and then one pin I select to have my range pin, so I can go from any range. So it can be from 10 to 80 yards, and I can adjust that and just use that one pin.
Yep. Are you using your top pin or your bottom pin as the adjustable?
So a lot of people use the bottom pin to give themselves a bit more range, like distance range. But I use a top pin because I'm just that natural at using the top pin all the time with my 20 anyway, because that's my perfect shot is between 20 and 30. And I like to, especially with pigs, because their eyesight's so poor, I generally try to get to at least 30 meters or 30 yards to take a shot. So I do use the top pin, but it only gives me a range of about 70 yards. But I'm not taking shots at 70 yards. I'm taking if I have to take a shot at 60, I'm confident that I can make a kill, but I never take those shots. Like I literally never take those shots, especially not on an animal that's got unbelievable reflex times. So got into 30, pulled the bow back when he stopped, and he walked out probably 2 or 3 extra meters. So he's probably around 33, 34. But I thought with, 70 pound going through the Alpha X 33-inch bow, I was confident that it wasn't going to drop much. And so I aimed pretty much middle body, straight up leg, and it punched through probably an inch or two lower than what I wanted to hit him. And he took off. I was using a 175 two blade with a was running an Infinity Nexus shaft, 300, so 4 mil. So very, great penetration usually with those shafts. I've actually switched shafts now. I'm running a jab stick. So local boys to me that I've grown up with have just brought out these jab sticks. So jumped over and given them a go. They're a 5 mil, but I'm still running a 300 and getting some, very, very good grouping with these new arrows. So very happy with them. And
I've only just heard about them myself. So yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, a couple of young boys that, one fella, Jack, he, I went to school and pretty much played footy and everything with, and he's been sort of a traditional bow hunter for a long, long time.
Yep.
Loves that. Very, very good at it. Very, 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 he's mastered that craft. And yeah, he's phenomenal hunter, phenomenal bow hunter. And yeah, I think for those guys, it was more, the price point of some of these arrows, they get, if you're not, gets very expensive. I guess what I'm trying to say. They're, a good broadhead sort of costs you. Your arrows can be upwards of $40 a setup, and if you're shooting them through pigs or whatever it is you're shooting through, it gets pretty expensive. And those boys, they wanted to bring something out that had the quality, but the price tag was a little bit lower, and they would suit trad and the wheelie bows. So good on them. They're having a crack, and I'll support them. They're a couple of young fellas with young families, and they're having a dip, and quite happy to support those guys. And so I was running but at the time I had the Nexus shaft, and anyway, I hit him and he took off. I had a Vision Ironhide, young fella in Darwin had just brought out these Vision broadheads, and I'd been speaking a little bit to him back and forth, and he asked me to give them a go. And so, I gave it a go, and it did its job. It hit him pretty much in the heart, and he didn't go. He probably got 60 meters. But the crazy thing about it was there was no blood. Like, it didn't bleed. So it went in, and being such a big animal, sort of half healed up, the arrow come out almost the other side, like it was penetrating out the other side. But we didn't follow a blood trail. We actually stood there and sort of took in a little bit of the atmosphere of what had just happened. And I was very calm for the whole process because I think I was so buggered. I think that the heart rate down, like my heart rate is higher when I'm shooting a 60 kilo pig at home here. And I do that every single day of the week. Don't know why that was, or whether it was just I didn't have the time to get in that, that higher heart rate, worried about the outcome. It sort of happened that quickly that it all went to plan. And we actually heard him fall over, and that's what gave him away. And we went in there and found him pretty quickly. And he was a younger bull, but his size, like, he was actually a very, very big animal for how young his headgear and that was. And we were sort of that relieved and, I guess worn out, and the whole dream of, making it happen in such harsh conditions had come true, that we dropped our guard, and we were talking just normally standing near him, and then about 30 buffalo just blow up to our left. Like, they're literally 100 meters from us. So like, how often does that happen with hunters that just lose that focus for that little split second? And I was kicking myself because I never do. I always try and stay in that moment, and I always try and, take it all in and slow it all down. But at the same time, remember that you're still in the bush, and you're still, hunting at the time. And if we hadn't have, stopped and almost just sort of were in a bit of awe of how big this thing was and what we'd achieved, and we went back to talking normally instead of the whispering and the working where the wind was and all that sort of stuff, we might have got another opportunity for Tyler to get on one. But anyway, we blew that chance, and so that was pretty much the hunt. We had a 15K walk in the middle of the day then, pretty much back to. We made the decision we were going to stay another night, but we made the decision that we were out of water and we were starting to actually really struggle. Our bodies were starting to struggle. Tyler was cramping. He does get cramps naturally, but he was eating salt tablets and we were eating lots of electrolytes and trying to do all the things that we could do to keep our bodies okay. But we were to the point where we could not filter water quick enough to be able to put it back into our bodies. So we made the decision to go, okay, sit out for another couple of hours, filter the water, and then walk back to civilization. And we took back straps and everything out of the buffalo. We were a fair way, obviously 15 Ks in that sort of heat. The meat wouldn't have been very good by the time we got back, but we took everything that we could possibly take with us. So we added extra weight, but we didn't have much water to carry. So it was sort of like a buy off that we're carrying meat and we didn't have the water. So, but we cooked some of that up and we also did a heap of beef jerky with it too. And it's turned out really, really good. So, that was that experience.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, the YouTube video is certainly, enjoyable, and educational. Like there was that, and the reason, like I've explained to you, part of the reason why I really wanted to sort of get you on at this point was because this is basically exactly the sort of trip I've got planned for this later on this year in July. So there's myself and two other mates at this stage, and we're planning on doing a trip up and backpacking, basically just driving to the edge of the property and then putting our backpacks on and coming back 5 days later. So all these, the logistics and learnings and so forth is very interesting for me. So this episode, I'll probably try and release this sort of just before our trip, and then we're going to do a pre and a post podcast recording on my trip, and then release that when we come back. So they'll sort of tie in quite nicely.
So is it bows, Tobias, or rifles?
I'm going to cheat, mate. Although I am considering taking the bow for pigs, but I don't think I'm at that stage where I could confidently bow hunt and ethically bow hunt a buff. So I might take it for the pigs, because I've been on a few buff hunts before, and we made the deal on those hunts that we weren't going to shoot any pigs if we were hunting buffalo. Like we would go out, try and hunt a buff for whoever's day it was, and then when we were coming back to camp, then we might shoot pigs. But I always thought, man, because you up there, you're coming across them, big mobs, and you almost got to kick them out of the way, because they're not used to seeing people. And I thought, man, if I had a bow, I would clean up on the pigs here.
Yeah.
And of course, every time you're walking back from somewhere and you were able to shoot pigs, you never see them. So.
Yeah. I don't know if you watched that other episode that Tyler and I did with the scrub balls and that. We got onto that other property, and we literally one day they dropped. We got dropped off by another mate that was with us, and we walked over the first creek, and we hadn't walked 15 meters, and there's a pig in front of me, and I was like, what the hell's going on here? Like so I shoot it at 20 meters, no ranger, and I know it was 20 meters. Drop him, and he's got great big ivory on him. He's a serious. He wasn't a very big pig, but he was. Yeah, had a great set of tusks on him. And we both looked at each other and went, like, 15 meters we'd walked, and it's like you say, the pigs. We did the same thing on this hunt. We didn't even pull the bow back on pigs. We did see pigs. Nothing worth hunting that was of any size or quality, but we've got access to pigs at home here, so we're there on one mission, and that was the buffalo. But yeah, the bow with pigs, like, if you ask me what I'd hunt for the rest of my life, with a bow, it'd be pigs, just because, for one, they're such a destructive feral animal that we need to, keep it at good numbers, because they can, we watch it, they breed out of control, and obviously all the diseases, and
Mm,
just even, the way they, destroy the natural habitats
mm,
that all of our natives and everything live in. Like, I've seen football ovals of pig rippings. Like,
yeah.
there's just a devastation. I was in a creek a week ago, and the creek's dried up, and the clods, like a I'm looking at a camera now, but to try and explain, they're sort of at least a foot and a half wide by at least a foot and a half deep. They'd have to be 50-kilo clods,
Mm,
and something's been plucking them out of the ground there. Like,
mm,
it's phenomenal how strong they are in that
yeah.
jaw and nose and everything, to be able to move stuff like that. And it
Yeah.
has to. The only thing that it could be is a pig. But
Mm,
yeah, so yeah, they need to be controlled, and yeah, up there they are in plague portion as
yeah.
well.
Yeah. Like, I've shot countless pigs over the years. And even to this day, I'd elbow you out of the way to get a shot at a pig in front of you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just so much
yeah,
fun. Yeah.
yeah. It's very, and for a bow hunter too, Tobias, like, pigs are almost the perfect game.
Mm,
Like, they have phenomenal sense of smell. They're probably almost better than, most animals I've hunted when it comes to sense of smell, to know what's right and what's wrong. But eyesight is terrible. So
mm,
if you've got, if you're quiet and you can move in positions downwind, they are quite the perfect animal to hunt with a bow.
yep.
And yeah, they've got quite, the big guys, they, get pretty protected with their plates and everything, but smaller pigs, they have you've got a fair window to be able to take a pig as well, with where their lungs and everything run.
Mm,
So yeah, perfect. If I was taking out anybody to introduce them into bow hunting, I'd definitely target pigs.
mm, mm. So that trip, sorry, just coming back to what you said before, that other video, because I've just got your YouTube channel here up on the computer. The bow hunting as many pigs, buffalo, and scrub bulls as we can in 3 days. That
Yep,
was the other
yep,
one you're referring to. Yeah, yep.
yep,
My
yep.
son and I have watched that one. Yeah, we watched a few of them actually. The couple of, he's super keen on barra fishing as well, so
Is he?
he's been into some of your barra
Cool.
videos. But um, so
Well,
that
don't let him get too far into that, mate. There's no coming back from that one
oh,
either. There's an addiction to barra fishing that I took up about 20 years ago, or 18 years ago, and I can't get away from it. I don't even fish down. Like, we've got the Murray's 50 meters from the front of my house, and my boat's been in it once, and it was to drive up to see some boys at a bucks party on, the other day on the river. So it's like an obsession with barramundi. It's not. Yeah, and the boats
mm,
get bigger, and the gear gets, more and more. I've probably got more barramundi gear in the shed than I've got cod or yellow belly or any other target species
yeah,
that I've
right.
got down here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No, well, that'll be his problem. He can pay for that addiction later on. I'm happy to do the hunting thing with him, but yeah, he's gonna have to do that one on his own. So, what was the month that you were up there? Um,
So for that specific one that was really, really hot was October. We
October.
flew
Yep.
in, yeah, flew in October.
Mm,
But the most of the hunting I've done has been June, which is perfect hunting time. The
yep.
the wet's pretty much all over and done, and the weather's perfect. It's always yeah, 34 odd during the day, and 20 overnight, and just magical weather. But
Mm,
yeah, that last hunt was in October, and it was very, very hot.
yeah. Yep.
But I'd do it again in a heartbeat. I spoke to Tyler about this the other day, and he didn't even get to pull the bow back, and he said, "Take me back." So yeah,
Yeah.
we definitely will do it again. Um, Probably
Sometimes
not in the
those
next
those trips
year or
that
two.
you fail at, fail in air quotes, and you suffer the most on, they seem to be the most memorable.
Yep. There was a lot of highs and lows on that one. There was
Yeah.
a lot of sitting around scratching our heads, putting bandages on feet because we had blisters that, poor old Tyler, the back of his feet were pretty much red raw. Mine weren't too bad. I'd done a fair bit of backpacking in the boots that I was wearing at the time. So I was quite okay, but yeah, he was struggling with blisters. So it's a lot of sitting around talking about how much pain we're in.
Were you sleeping during the middle of the day, or were you still moving and hunting?
No, we were in the middle of the day was the time to try and get to new ground. So we would we'd have a lay down probably from 10 to maybe 1 and try and move some water through the filter. And then from there, we were trying to move to new ground to be able to hunt it, because we didn't actually find the buffalo until the last day. So there was, 30 odd Ks of seeing absolutely no sign or any buffalo, or, scrub bulls, or, even really hearing them, until that last. And I swear to God, the property owner knew that too. He was just testing us out, I think. They just work for it.
Were crocs a concern or an issue for you as well, trying to get the water?
Yeah, they definitely are in that area. They push a long way inland when the floods and everything are on. So he does have cattle taken quite regularly from a lot of those water sources that do hold crocs. So they were a concern. We, being a fisherman and being up there for 18 years, we actually had a crocodile jump on our boat in 2019, which was very scary. We were on East Alligator. We'd never been there before. We got a bit of information from a guide up there that's a mate, and he said, you should be right, stick to the right, head down, get to Mangilla Creek, and you should be fine. And we were punching down there in the dark, just on daylight. We got into an area that looked a bit sketchy, so I slowed down, and then the boat sort of got a little bit beached on a sandbar, so we hopped in the water, which is crazy, but we were on a outgoing tide, and we would have been stuck for 8 hours. So we made the decision to, the water was this deep, ankle deep, and it was pretty much flowing. So we jumped in. We do little like heave, and you'd move it a foot and then jump back in again and have a good look around, then jump in and then move it and then jump in, and and we hadn't seen another boat for the whole morning, so we knew that we were there by ourselves. Anyway, we got down to that creek and we were fishing it, and we were anchored, and Tyler caught a fish, and he wheeled it into the boat, and it was jumping and splashing and that, and he reached over the side and grabbed the leader. So he's probably got a meter of free space there. And he was lifting it in the boat, and the crocodile come from out of the water and grabbed the fish. It landed on the side of the boat, and the boat that I had at the time was a 5 meter JS Marine, quite a deep boat. And the crocodile landed sort of on its armpit in the boat, grabbed the fish off Tyler's, almost his chest, and took the fish back in the water with his fishing rod and everything. And the whole boat, I didn't really see it because I was sitting in the center console, and I had another guy sit next to me, and he jumped me, and Tyler just went white. And I was like, the whole boat's rocking. Like, what the hell's just happened? And I see this big tail come over the top. And that was a pretty big wake-up call, though. None of us had done anything wrong, apart from being in the water earlier, but we were stuck. We hadn't done anything wrong. Tyler was, smart and didn't reach over and grab the fish at water level or any of that. He was lifting it in by, the leader. And that crocodile, I got a fish finder that you can scroll back. So we quickly scrolled back, and he was sitting under our boat for almost, there's only a certain amount of time that you can scroll back on the fish finder, but the whole time he was actually sitting there, and I hadn't even paid attention and seen him. So he was quite aware what we were doing, and he only had target for the fish. He literally went around the corner and sat on the bank and ate the fish in front of us. But that was a massive wake up call to all of us. We hadn't got complacent, but you sort of do things and then go, oh shit, just remember there's things that eat you in this water. And that's the only real experience I've had with a crocodile that was, could have been very, very bad outcome.
Do you think that's a learnt behaviour from the tourism and the croc 100%. Feeding in that area?
Yeah. 100%. I think that he'd done that before a million times, and and it had been successful for him, because he was sitting under our boat just waiting for us to hook a fish. That was quite evident that that was his game plan, and he executed it quite well, I might add. But in the same breath, it scared the shit out of all of us. And Tyler still reckons he has these visions of this head coming out of the water that he'll never forget.
Yeah.
So very, very lucky there.
You mentioned before about apex animals and so forth with the scrub bull and the buffalo, and Australia, or in America, and other countries, they have land-based apex predators, bears and big cats and that sort of thing. Obviously, we don't have those. We have the water-based apex predators. But even so, even though cows and scrub bulls are vegetarians, vegans, there is definitely a element of apex animal to them. Like you said, I remember being stared down by a scrub bull years ago, and the property we were on, we weren't shooting scrub bulls. We were there for buffalo, but this bull, man, it was impressive. Like you said, it was just rippling with muscle. And even though I was standing there with a 375, I was still intimidated,
Yes.
And it was this Mexican standoff, and he looked at me like, I don't give a fuck, fuck around and find out, boy. Like that was the message I got. Yeah.
Yeah, they in that one with Tyler, the one where we get some scrub bulls, I shoot one buffalo at it was 16 meters. So there was a whole group of them coming through the jungle towards me, and I shoot one at 16 meters, and it's pretty intimidating when you're fully surrounded on both angles, and all you've got is a bow and an arrow. And so I made that, the decision to shoot front on. I had a perfect window for a frontal shot, and that buffalo went down within 40 meters as well, 50 meters. But the same hunt, I shoot one and it runs off into the water. That one there was definitely he was a bull that was aggressive, because he wouldn't run away. Like, all the others ran away, and they ran off into the water, and he actually come towards me. So he was like, he wasn't being aggressive at the time, but he was like, what is that in my turf? And I'm going to come and check whoever the hell you are out. And he got within 23, and I did another frontal shot, and I hit him perfectly. But if you watch spoiler alert, if you watch it, I go through a lot of pain in a lot of crocky looking water, walking around with bare feet, cutting him up, trying to find him in this water. And in the end, it got too deep, and it was just, I was putting myself at too much risk. It wasn't, he was a bull of a lifetime, and I wish to hell that he had have just fallen over within 30 meters. But the reality is that he was a big boy, and I could hear him going through the water, and then I could hear noises like as if he was going down, but the water was over my knees, and it just wasn't worth risking. So I pulled the pin on that one.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So did you know beforehand the property that you were going to, so that you could do some e-scouting, or it was sort of got dropped in?
Not at all. No, it was through, I didn't even know the owner. So literally, through a connection and said, yep, here's a phone number, and we'll talk about the app in a minute, but these are the reasons why we wanted to build something that we are, so to try and eliminate all these, even just access points, or that awkward phone call of, Barry from down south, he told me to give you a call because you've got some buffalo. So no, we didn't, and luckily they were. The property owner was very, very good to us. Even gave us somewhere to stay with some aircon the day that we got back, which was like luxury. They even had this tank. It was like an old water tank that they cut top off, and it was pretty much like their swimming pool. So we were in that too. But no, I didn't know the property, and that going next time we would hunt it totally differently. We would limit the time spent away from the water systems that we thought there was going to be buffalo at, because there wasn't. And maybe the wet season and then, and then the dry would be different to hunt it. But in October, it was very, very tough. And he laughed at us when we said we want to come and hunt buffalo, because he's like, you won't get buffalo this time of year, not with a bow and arrow. And we're like, oh, well, we want to try. And he's like, good luck to you. That was pretty much his last comments as we were getting out of the ute.
Yeah. What sort of gear did you have that worked well and you would definitely look at taking next time? And what's some of the gear, and you don't necessarily have to mention brands or anything like that if you don't want to shit can things, but yeah, what were some of the things that you had that didn't work and you wouldn't bother taking next time?
So I hadn't done a hell of a lot of like long-term backpacking, so I hadn't really got a backpack. But I bought a backpack in the States years ago, the Celebus, is it Celebus, or however you pronounce that? Bought it at a Bass Pro Shop a long time ago now, but it's a very, very heavy backpack. So I always used to use that around home here, but for the hunt, I wanted to buy something that was a bit lighter. So we ended up buying a couple of the Hunter's Element, the 65 plus 10, the Summits, because they were probably a little bit cheaper. I don't do a hell of a lot of living out of backpacks, although I want to do more. Down home here where we hunt, or the hunting that I've always done has been warmer hunting, so I've literally just slept on the ground. Like, it doesn't phase me at all to light a fire and just lay on the dirt for the night. I've done that quite often, and it was more because it's the whole experience too. When you get back to your bed 2 days later and you go, oh, how good's this? Or you get back to a shower or whatever. So I hadn't done a hell of a lot of backpacking, but we used them. Tyler's let him down. A zip pulled out pretty much on the first day, and we soon learnt that you're probably better off spending the money and going for something a little bit higher end than trying to do some sort of extreme hunt that we were packing a heap of stuff into these bags and they were swelling out, and we were pushing them to the limits, I guess, for what they were designed to do. But mine was fine. I was still mine's good as gold, and it actually didn't sit on me back too bad, so I wasn't that upset with it. But one of the game changers I found for hunting is my jet boil. Like, I'd be lost without that thing now that I've got one. Even for fishing, like, I live with that thing. Like, it's when we do a lot of camping out in the boat when we're up north. So especially on the Roper or some of those remote places that it's a long, from Tomato Island to the mouth of the Roper is sort of 68 Ks to where we wanted to fish, and you're not going to travel that every single day back and forth. Like, you're losing 2 hours of travel time plus all the fuel that you use. So we always sleep in the boat, and that little jet boil, it's a game changer for us. Coffee, even just warming up meals or any of that sort of stuff, it's so light, you pull it out of the backpack and you're away. So I ran one of them, and I love it. And there's so many different brands, and I'm sure they're all as good as each other, but the jet boil, I just went with the jet boil because I knew the name when I was purchasing it, and it hasn't let me down yet. So that was one that I definitely use a lot. Probably the binos and everything that I run, just Vortex equipment, so binos and rangefinder. Love them. Wouldn't, now that I've got a good set of binos, I'd never not have a good set. It's just it's silly little things, like even with bow hunting, you think, why would you need binos? Like, trying to see animals so far away and that you're bow hunting that. But even lignum bushes down home here, I can get the binos out and I can see pigs in the dark in the lignum bush, if that makes sense. I can't pick them up at all with my naked eye, but if I get the binos, I can actually work out which way the pig's facing, where they're laying. So a game changer for me. I would not run a good set of binos ever now. They're just part of my kit that I take everywhere with me. What else would I?
What was the clothing system you were you're sort of
So
running?
the clothing system was just I had QU gear. I love their pants, prickle resistant pants. I did run the Hunter's Element gaiters and rate them. I think they're great. I
Mm.
think for what they are, they've yeah. I stood on 3 snakes last year at home here, and they were big snakes, and one was a red belly, and the other two were brown. So they could have fucked my day very quickly,
Yeah,
so to
yeah.
speak.
So
Yeah.
that
So
they the Hunter's Element venom gators, the
yes.
snake proof
Yep.
ones. Yeah, right.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. So ran them up in Darwin. I don't know. So I ran them for the first day, and then decided to let a snake eat me for all I cared if I didn't have that sweat flowing down into me socks.
Mm.
So I only ran them for the one day and then didn't put them on again. But yeah, as I said before, the QU stuff I like. Tyler ran a bit of Hunter's Element stuff. I think that's good stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know when it's cold down here, I use a bit of Bracken wear stuff, which
Mm-hmm.
is really
Yep.
good gear too, especially their jackets for their price. I think you really can't beat them.
Yep.
Yeah, and then that same local fella that's done the jab sticks, he's just brought out a shirt, some camo actually equipment called Amphibious Land and Water, and so I've been using that. And there's a YouTube that I just did recently where I shoot like 4 pigs in 5 minutes, and that was the first time I've ever hunted in that top.
Mm-hmm.
And it suits our country. Like, obviously he's designed it to hunt our country down here, and he's got a couple of different color palettes now. But that I have, if you watch the YouTube, a pig runs straight at me, and I shoot it from 3 meters, and it's like it doesn't even see me. And I was like, nah, surely that's not the camo. Like, I can't give him this that much credit straight away. And then the next pig turns and it walks straight towards me, and I shoot another one at 20 yards, and then as I'm talking shit to the camera, about 120 kilo pig to me right just pops into view, and as I'm doing a bit of a talk, and it walks sort of halfway towards me and turns. And anyway, it ended up being about 109. It went 109, that pig. Yeah, so that was my first experience with that amphibious gear. And it's got a face shield and a hood.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm quite happy to run Jack's gear at the minute. It's really good. I haven't really tested it out in the heat yet, so it'll be interesting to see. He seems to think that it'll go well, but yeah, when I was up there, it was mainly all QU stuff, and I love their gear too. It's good quality stuff.
Yeah. Rightio. Now, so you mentioned that you took some backstraps and stuff from the animal and made jerky out of it. Did you fly home with the meat, or did you do all that up there?
Yeah, so we flew home with it. So we just cryovac it there, froze it, and then just put it in like your styrene foam box, and then you just got to declare it when you're there, and flew home with it. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Obviously, staying with
we've done that with mud crabs and everything, Tobias, over the years. You learn what you can and can't, and even muddies and everything we've brought home. Just wrapped them in some wet stuff and packed them in those styrofoam foam boxes, and brought them home with us.
Yep. Yep. And you just pack a bit of ice around it, sort of thing, and lock it down.
Yeah, literally pull it out of the freezer half an hour before you're catching your flight, and away you go. There wasn't a hell of a lot this year. The trip that we did when we were with the boats and everything, though, we used that we used one of those whole buffalo for the local people there, and we also took backstraps and everything out of the scrub balls because we offered it, and they said they didn't want it because they reckon it was just too chewy. So we did show them the scrub balls, and they weren't interested. So
All right. Yeah. So do you have, like, to freeze it on that last trip? How did you go freezing it? You just use the farmers' facilities, or did you have somewhere else?
No, we went back into Darwin for 2 days before we flew home.
Yeah.
So we actually we had a friend that lived in Palmerston. She's just recently moved to Melbourne now, but we've been lucky that she's been up there for 15 odd years. So we've had a place to camp every time we're up there, and yeah, we just had access to her freezer, and she even had some freezers at the wharf where she worked, so we could chuck some stuff in there too. Because we do the same thing with all the fish that we bring home. Although we don't take much fish when we do our trips, I think last year we caught 130 plus barramundi over 60 centimeters, and we kept I think 11 or something all up for the whole trip. So we don't really take much fish. It's just to bring some home and give to my family and give to Tyler's family or Royce's family or whoever's with us. So, yeah, we had access to those freezers, luckily.
Yeah.
But I don't know what I'm going to do now. The guy that's got the fertilizer company, I'm hoping that maybe he can set us up with having access to a freezer and somewhere to park the boat, because that used to be the biggest killer for us. We had this, 9-meter trailer that we'd have to try and park somewhere when we're in Darwin, having Darwin time, where we'd want to go down the waterfront and spend some time down there. Usually we break up our boys' trip. The girls fly up for a week in between, so we get to spend some time with the family, because being away from little kids for a month at a time, it wears you down. So, yeah, we've done that for the last 2 years where they've flown up. So, yeah, having somewhere to even park the boat when you're up there, because you can't park it at the waterfront.
Yeah, yeah. And what are the logistics of flying with the bows?
Yeah, so I guess Qantas, we flew with Qantas. They didn't have any. There was no pre-organising. You roll in there, you declare it when you first get there, as long as it's in a sealed case with that's lockable. I put 2 locks on mine just to cover all bases. They actually did want us to open them up, and they did look at them. They went through them and asked what they were all about, because it looks like my bow case looks like a rifle case, a big rectangle case, and you get a lot of looks when you're walking through an airport with, big backpacks on and carrying, rifle-looking cases. You get plenty of looks, but yeah, they were really, really fine. They gave us a little bit of grief on the way up, but on the way home, they must say it all the time out of the NT. I think I actually had accidentally left an old gas bottle in one of my bags, and I didn't even realize I'd done it. And they were calling me up, and I went down there, and he's just like, "Is this yours?" I'm like, "Oh yeah." And he's like, "Oh no worries. Do you care if I throw it in the bin?" Like, that's just Darwin. In the bin it went, and away I went. So yeah, I definitely won't be doing that again. I'll make sure I'll go through all my bags. But yeah, that one caught me out. But yeah, they're fine with bows. Yeah, it's a little bit different to carrying ammunition and carrying firearms and that, though. There's a little bit more to it. But the bow, yeah, we didn't have any trouble, and I've done it probably 4 or 5 times now.
Yeah.
I think at some point it'll probably come into Tobias where we'll need licenses for bows, and there'll be a lot more stricter regulations around it all. It's like the crossbow stuff back in the day.
Yeah. Look, in Queensland you need a license for a crossbow, and with the sort of anti-hunting things that are happening, it's probably inevitable, isn't it? Like that seems to be the way that everybody's moving. They want, and it's if there's an opportunity for the government to make money out of us, then they're certainly going to take it. So. Yeah. So the lightweight, so the case that you're talking about, is that like a Plano brand or something similar?
Yeah. Yep. Pelican setup. Yeah.
Sorry, Pelican was what I meant to say. But
yeah.
So the lighter sort of cases, the D-shaped ones like the Plano brand, would you recommend flying with a bow in one of those, or do you think it needs to?
I have before. That's what I had originally. So when I bought a secondhand bow a couple of years ago, just for a backup bow. It come with this big Pelican case.
Right.
It's pretty awesome case. I can fit. So when I flew this time round, I put spare broadheads, all the arrows. I had my poundage gauge to make sure that I was always on point there. I had spare D-loop string. I had the gaiters in there, all my camo in there. So I had a fair bit of gear packed in that case to not have to worry about putting it in my other bags. I even had those meals and that in there too.
Yeah, right.
So I would say the bigger, and it's got wheels. So going through the airport was very, very convenient that I've got this big case that's got wheels and I can just wheel it along where Tyler's doesn't. And yeah, he was carrying everything through the airport. But so yeah, I would, I guess if you can only afford the Plano little, round shaped or half moon shaped case, then they will do the job as well, as long as you can lock it, which most of them you can.
Yep. All right. And did you have to pay for extra baggage for that, or does
Yep.
it?
Yeah. No, they get you everywhere. Those guys. They
Yeah.
I even opted for bit more luxury with the extended exit rows and that, because I knew we were going to be hurting on the way home. So I did all that as well. So, but yeah, they get you everywhere. Those guys.
Yeah. That's it. All right. Well, yeah. So anybody that that is curious about it, definitely jump on your YouTube channel. Have a look at not only that video, but there's a heap of other ones on there that, and you do a few deep dives into archery gear and stuff as well. So that's and a lot of fishing stuff too. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of great content on there for people that want to sort of binge watch something. But so the other part of why I or originally reached out to you is around the app.
Yes, the app's been a lot of work. I would say that. Anybody thinking, I know you've got a little idea in your head too, Tobias, but anybody thinking about going down the app world, there's a lot to it, and it's a fair investment as well. This particular idea that I had, I didn't just like, it wasn't, I didn't shoot from the hip. It wasn't like, I had this idea and then a month later I'm doing it. I played it over in my head for about 2 years of, whether I think it's a good thing. Is it going to help people? Like, you've got to work out whether, you've got a product, that's fine, but you've got to be able to sell it as well. And, it's a massive investment. But we think that it's going to, I know that if people actually utilize the app the way the app's designed to be utilized, it's going to help a lot of people achieve things that they would never have been able to do prior to something like this.
Yeah. So the app is called Hooked Up.
Yep.
And your logo's a stylized sort of H.
Yep.
So give us a rundown on what the app actually is.
Yeah, sure. The app is essentially, it's a social platform. So it's very similar to a Instagram, a Facebook, or any of the other social apps that are out there at the moment. But
with just enough difference so you don't get sued for copyright.
Exactly. Yeah. So the company we used, a lot of people look at offshore app building because it's a lot cheaper. You go offshore and you potentially save $100,000 maybe, but we didn't. We wanted to do it right from the start. I guess one thing with me is, if I'm going to do something, I don't like. There's no, like, I don't want to cheap on it. I want to make sure it's right. And if it takes us an extra year to be able to fund it, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm not. We don't want to be. It's more being proactive rather than reactive, and making that decision that we want to get it right from day one, rather than half-ass it and be chasing our tail for the next 2 or 3 years trying to fix all the issues that we're having from an offshore build point of view. Yep. So we went down. I researched a lot of different companies. A lot of companies do like standard app building. So it's like, if somebody's got an idea to stock inventory, it's like, yes, we can do that. That's quite simple. But not many people do ideas. So for me, it was, I've got a million different ideas in my little brain. How can I make them actually reality? And not many people in the app world can do specific, I guess, tailor-made apps to somebody's ideas that they've got in their head. They can do, like I said, your standard stuff, that how to calculate something for chemical, or how can whatever it is. There's plenty of those that you can find. But for me, it was an idea, and how can I make it reality out of my head. And I found a company in Queensland in the end that did everything. So they do a full blown they call it a feasibility study. So
Yep.
they'll look at everything. So they'll look at all your competition, whether there's anything else out there, how many people fish or hunt or camp in Australia. This is hopefully potentially going to be worldwide. So we're not specific to Australia, but at the time we were targeting what we were going to have access to easily.
Mm-hmm.
So long story short, they do a feasibility study. They come back to you. They say, this is what our findings are. Do you want to proceed? That costs you. Don't worry. That costs money. You get nothing for nothing these days. So they come back and said, yep, we love it. We want to work with you. This is our pitch. This is the costings. This is what it looks like. And then it's back onto us whether we pull the trigger or not. And yeah, so it probably took about a month or two to even realize that it's going to be a thing. From finding somebody to having several discussions about your idea to actually, getting to the point where you go, okay, we're going to do this, and it's happening. So it didn't happen overnight, and it was in my head for about two years. But so getting back to the actual app, it's a social platform very similar to these other guys that we pretty much copied them to a degree because we want it to be user friendly. So people already knew, like they know what a share triangle looks like, or they know what a message blurb looks like, or whatever. But the company that we used, they tailor make every single part of the app. So although they look pretty similar, everything's different. From everything on the screen's different. So yeah, we wanted it to look familiar, but not copyright somebody that you're going to get sued, obviously. So yeah, it's essentially a social platform that we have 6 functionalities, like major functionalities in the app. So you can have a profile. So it's just like your normal profile on an Instagram or Facebook. It's just your photo, all your bits and pieces you've been up to and all that sort of stuff. So you've got a my profile that explains what you're about, your username, your all that sort of stuff. So it's very, very simple, that part of the app. But where it gets quite technical is the functionalities after that. We've got an open season, which is an events part, which I'll go into, but we've got a bucket list, we've got a linking connections, we've got a forums, and we've got an explorer page, which explorer page that's a very simple one. It's just like when you're on Instagram and you're scrolling for hours on end when you're in a deep scroll, that's the explorer page. It's quite similar. For the users that are on it, what they're sharing, all that'll be explorer page. So that's how you'll find people, that's how you'll connect with people. Right. But the idea, so I might just touch base on how the idea come about, and why it was very evident to me that something is lacking for the fishing, hunting, camping world. It was mainly based around fishing to start with, but because I was passionate about hunting and camping or just exploring, it flowed into those other parts of my life. And I didn't, at the time, the app builders and everything was sort of saying we could do it for golf, we could do it for this, we could do it for that, but this is what my niche is. And I'd already, Emma had convinced me in going down the path of YouTube and building a personal brand before we built the app, because we wanted to get my name out there and what I was about, and even just share some of our journeys already before we actually launched an app that everybody goes, oh, who the hell is this guy? Like I hope the views on YouTube and what I've brought there, that's like fully out of my comfort zone. Like I don't prior to doing that, a mate said to me the other day, I knew something was up, because we sort of kept it low key as well. But he said, I knew something was up, because you wouldn't even tell people when the shrimp are running, let alone, where you're fishing or where you're hunting or where you're. So he goes, I knew something was up, because that just wasn't you. But, and since doing it, I've really enjoyed the sharing, even just the messaging that I get from a lot of people that were probably in my boat, 10 years ago, before I worked out all the mistakes that I'd made to, be more successful. So I'm really enjoying helping other people. And that's the YouTube side of it. I don't enjoy editing and spending countless hours at night after I've done a full day's work editing to get shat on that night by somebody that has a go at me about the camera's a bit wobbly, or there's too much sound of birds, or whatever they want to critique me on. So originally the app idea come from, I was on a trip in 2019, and I had two other mates with me. Emma was pregnant with our first child, and it was sort of going to be, I guess, the last trip, the like large trip that I was going to be able to go on until Rafi come along, and we settled in and learned what it's like to navigate life with children.
Yeah.
So the other two guys, broadacre farmers, they only really had 2 weeks to access their trip. So they come with me, and 2 weeks later they ended up flying home. And I wasn't ready to come home. I was sort of, in two minds. I wanted to explore a little bit more. I hadn't really done much at Dundee Beach in the NT. So I thought, bugger it, I'm going to stay for another week and see where it takes me. So I headed out to Dundee Beach, and I don't know how many of your listeners would have experienced this, but when you pull into a caravan park and you look like you've been off-road and you've been enjoying yourself, like my boat's covered. I had a big black boat at that point, and it was covered in shit. There was red dust from, all over it. There was, blood and muck on the back step where we'd filleted a fish the night before. There was, red dirt all over the ute. And you flow into a caravan park and people just flock to you. They want to know what you've been doing. They want to know what you've been up to. They see the Victorian number plates on the ute, and they're sort of very, I guess, curious to what you've been up to. And I've found this everywhere I go, and it's great, especially the NT, because a lot of people, like 90% of the people in the caravan park, got New South Wales or Victorian number plates, or SA number plates. So they all want to know where you're from and what you've been up to. And so 2019, I rolled in there, and I inundated with people, and mainly grey nomads wanting to catch up with you. One bloke was obsessed with me. A fridge slide on my ute. So very simple things that they want to talk about. And anyway, there was a couple of guys off to the left. They were younger guys. They were sort of my age. They had a big ocean boat, and they were sort of not really that interested in coming over. And I had a lot of the grey nomads coming over saying, if you're traveling by yourself, can I hop in with you tomorrow? And I'm sort of sitting there going, yeah, no worries. Like, that's fine. I don't have anyone with me. So I probably had about 4 of them in the first 15 minutes of being there wanting to jump in. And I'd said yes to 2, and then, started to think, well, I've got 3 in the boat. That's enough, whatever. Anyway, so I started to think to myself, wow, like, these guys are traveling with big caravans. They're traveling, with their wife. They're probably retired. They don't have access to a big boat or the knowledge or anything like that. So they were eager to get in with somebody that had been doing it, and they were willing. They were offering tanks of fuel. They were offering ice and bait, and come over for tea tonight and whatever. And they were trying to fully G up, I guess, to take them out. And anyway, so they all cleared out, and I had a beer, and next minute these 2 young fellas walked over, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're just waiting for the crew to move on, and we'll come and have a beer with you." I said, "Oh, no worries." Anyway, they were from Canberra, I think, from memory. There was one guy was a smaller, stockier Maori guy, and the other guy was a Aussie. Yeah, he was a plumber by memory. Anyway, they had a big 7.5 meter cab over jobby. They'd never been there before. They'd just sort of, put it on their bucket list of somewhere places to travel. So they headed over there. And anyway, long story short, they said we tried to get in contact with guides, and guides are sort of telling us this time of the year is not great for barramundi. It's sort of like pretty hard. So they, directed us here to Dundee Beach. They're like, oh, so what have you been catching? I'm like, barramundi. They're like, oh, really? I was like, yeah, that's all I've been catching, mate. Like, I've been very successful this year. So they pretty much said to me then and there, if we take you out for 3 days or 2 days on the ocean in our big ocean boat, and take you right offshore, because I had an open cab, like a full open boat. So, and the GSs aren't the driest boats in the world. You do get a bit wet. Will you take us barra fishing? And I was like, oh, sold. Like, no worries at all, boys. Like, that's a great deal. It seems to be unfavourable to me, but they're thinking it's unfavourable to them. So off we go the next day. I had to let the poor old fellas down that I wasn't taken out that next morning. But in luck of it, we headed offshore a fair way. And if I had been in my boat, I would have got very, very wet, and the two old fellas probably wouldn't have had the greatest day anyway. So I'm pretty glad we didn't go out. But we went offshore. We caught, you name it, we caught it. These guys were, showing me how to jig. They were showing me how to, do all the ocean stuff. And yeah, we had an absolute ball for those couple of days. And then, yeah, it was my turn. So they jumped in my boat, and I took them down to the Daily, and they all caught fish. Like the two boys, they caught barra. Yeah. And then one of them noticed a mud crab leg on the floor of the boat, and they're like, oh, have you caught a mud crab? I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, there's any chance of taking this mud crab? And I was like, yeah, mate, no worries at all. So off we go. And yeah, I took him out to Saltwater Arms. We caught a heap of crabs, and they were just frothing. Like, they just thought it was the greatest thing ever. I cooked them up some chili mud crab. So we all had nicknames for each other. One was cherubin, one was barra, and the other one was chili mud. I was chili mud crab. So it was sort of like a little bit of fun that we created these nicknames, and I still talk to those guys now like that. And that's 4 or 5 years ago, and we had just the greatest week of sharing experiences and knowledge and even just access. So that's originally where the idea come about. It come about through having that experience, and then me going, wow, there's a real I guess like disconnect of people that don't have access to a lot of things like I have access to. I have access to a boat. I have access to hunting property. I have access to knowledge because I've gone and done it all. But a lot of people don't have, I guess, either the ambition to go and learn it and fail and all that in them. They're like confined to, doubting themselves or not willing to actually take chances like I was. So, so from there, the idea, I come home, I played it over in my head a couple of times. Then I just started finding myself in these circumstances all the time, like literally all the time. Every time I went somewhere, someone would be wanting to know how to do something or I do a fair bit of fishing around home, and I'm probably known as an okay fisherman. So a lot of people, and I do have a lot of technology in my boat. So I have, live scope and all that sort of stuff. So I get a lot of mates and people in the area ringing me, asking me, where they'd fish, what sort of, temperatures I'd fish and how to use live scope and all that sort of stuff. So it was probably 2 years of just being in these situations where I was thinking, wow, like there is such an ability to be able to build something that has, the ability to, I guess, share experiences. So we've got a feature on the app it's an events feature. So you can search events that are happening in your area. So if I go, so for an example, if you're towing your big caravan up to Dundee Beach, and there's 4 or 5 people that are going fishing that day that are on the app that have lodged that they're going on an event, they're going out fishing for the day, and they don't have a full boat, you can search a distance locator, and it'll show you every single person that's on the app that's doing something in that area when you're there. So you can actually reach out to them, offer to pay for the fuel, or just even, some people just like to go with other people just to a little bit of security, or even just to share an experience, because I'm one of those people that don't need to be paid for fuel. Like, I'd love to take somebody out and show them how to catch barramundi. Like, I just, that fills my bucket, I guess.
Yeah.
It's and it's the same with probably hunting. Like, you'd love to take somebody into the high country and to, be able to take them out and be successful on a hunt, and you don't expect anything in return. And what we've found is there's so many Facebook, it's like that tall poppy syndrome that we were talking about earlier. There's so many Facebook groups out there that, people are on, that people just want to shit can other people. And we don't want that. We want a platform that, supports people, that encourages people, that these events that people can go out on, they can, in turn facilitate back in their own craft, I guess. If somebody like myself that fishes for Murray cod down here all the time, like, I've got a bucket list of being able to catch a barramundi up in the NT. But if somebody in the NT catches barramundi every week, they might want to catch a Murray cod. So, we can facilitate that connection to be able to cross over, to be able to, tick off bucket list items for people through this profile, through this social platform.
Yep.
So the major functionality on it was the event side of it, because that's where I started to see that we were really, really lacking. And a heap of mates that live over on the Gold Coast and that, they've got big boats too that they don't take out very often because it costs them so much to run. But if they had 2 or 3 people jumping in with them every weekend, they'd be gone. Like, they'd be out there doing it. And these people that would never had access to a $150,000 boat to go offshore in, all of a sudden they're perched up in the passenger's seat going offshore, catching, whatever they want to target. Like, it's so for as little as having that connection point, people are going to be able to be given access to all the things that they would never have been able. It's like you read on these Facebook groups all the time, I've got a heap of country to hunt on, but no one to go hunting with.
Yep.
Okay. Well, the app facilitates those connections, or got I love hunting. These are all, the places that I've traveled to and paid guides and whatever. Is anybody in this area that wants a hunting partner? And you can facilitate it back the other way. So the events part of the app is probably where it all started, but then it flowed into bucket list items. So the bucket list part of the app is pretty much, if you can have as many bucket list, you can have 10 bucket list items which are on your profile, so people can actually see a bucket list item. So mine might be shoot a scrub bull with a bow, catch a meter barramundi. I might only have 2 or 3, but they're actually on my profile, so people that are connecting or linking with me can see that they're my bucket list items, and in turn I can see their bucket list items. And if you have the same bucket list items that cross both ways, you can actually get linked together, and you can be facilitating each other's bucket list dreams, of potentially flying to Darwin and catching a barramundi, or flying down south here and hunting a sambar in the hills. Like, it's the ability to be able to link people together to create lifelong memories and dreams. That's what we wanted to target with those 2 features. From there, we've put in a forum section. I thought that was very, very important, because forums to me, especially on these Facebook groups and these Instagram groups, there's a lot of, as we said before, tall poppy, and a lot of experts out there that want to, like, I can't stand when I look at these fishing groups where somebody, an ethical fisherman goes out and catches 5 yellow belly for the day, and that's his bag limit. And he puts a photo up and he's chuffed and he's wanting to, get a few people giving him the thumbs up, and he gets shat on because people say, do you need 5? There's only one of you. Why do you, that one looks undersized. This is that. Like, that's exactly what we're trying to avoid here. We're trying to build a community around all the things that we love, and we want people on there supporting other people rather than shitting on them. We want to build that out, and for us, it's not even about like, yes, we've got to make money and that along the way to be able to fund all this. Like this is a big investment. People don't understand the investment, and it's time, it's effort, it's stress on our family that we don't need. But I'm that passionate about linking people together. That COVID just wrecked the world. Like I don't even get me started on that thing. But it's gone from not even the suicide rates or any of those sort of things. We don't even need to delve into that. It's just having a conversation with somebody in a cafe, looking around. Everybody's on their phone. Like it's pretty much just dead. The normal communication that we used to have is dead now. Even the pubs and that, like you look around and at least half the patrons will be on their phone at some point.
I remember going to sorry to cut you off there, but I remember going to a restaurant a little while ago, and this couple walked in, and they were obviously on a date, and I'd say it was probably in the first three, not the first date, but probably in the first 3 or 5, and literally 20 minutes later, they're both on their phones, sitting at, there was just no communication. And they're showing each other things on their phone. They'd look something and then show them and so forth. But, so, that human connection, you're right. COVID really burnt that ability for us to connect personally with people in real life.
Yes, 100%. I've had a very similar experience. I was at an airport, and I watched 2 young fellas. They were probably about 13 years old. Obviously hadn't seen each other for a long time, and they run to each other, hugged each other, and then within 5 minutes they were both looking at their phones. And I was just in shock. I was like, surely, obviously you've been apart from a while, and you've got heaps to catch up on, and you're both into these screens. And I'm not saying, like, I'm not judging on I think it's just the circumstance we've been cornered into. Like I do it myself. I find myself on there going, put this thing down. What are you even doing? Like, get outside. Like, it's so yeah, the big drive for us, and Em was actually she used to get out and about with us in the bush before children, and then following her dreams of horses, and then going into this emotional intelligence coaching and everything. She was part of what we used to do, and still goes fishing now. Loves fishing. It's just obviously around time restraints, but so the forum side of it is a big part of it. We want to share information, so you can start any forum you want. You can either be a host of a forum, or you can just ask a question, and then people can actually give advice on the forum. So it goes both ways. There can be any forum started. Obviously we want to keep it to the things that we're there for, which are fishing, hunting, and camping. But there's the ability to be able to ask questions, share information, even just as simple as you watch my YouTube of going up north. You go, oh, we're thinking about doing that. Bang, you're on the forum. Anybody been up north recently hunting buffalo in the wet season? What do I need to be mindful of? And bang, you've started your own forum. There can be 50 people on there communicating backwards and forwards about all of their experiences and what they would do differently to help people out. It's the fast track stuff, but it's also to, money's such a tight thing these days with a lot of people. Like, it's, the whole world's changed again through COVID. So a lot of us don't have, access to mountains of money that we can just go and spend researching and driving around the countryside and time restraints. Like, definitely, especially with young families.
Yeah. Finding a shortcut to success. Like,
exactly. Yeah. And we want to share it as a community. We want to build that community base. And I don't know how the forums thing will be really, really a good community builder, I feel. Which it always is, even on those groups. You see a lot of groups on, Facebook and Instagram and that have 10, 15,000 people on there, and they're literally there just for the forum side of it. They want to ask questions, and they want to try and, get into the minds of people that are experts in their craft. And we're hopefully we're only targeting fishing and hunting, and outdoors pretty much, and backpacking and whatever else it comes in with camping. But there's going to be a hell of a lot of people with a hell of a lot of experience on the platform that can give advice to people that are just starting out. So from there it goes into, we've got a link connections part. So getting back to the inability to be able to just start a conversation with somebody, or to be given a phone number to ring and try and have that awkward conversation to say who you are and what you're about. We've put a section in there. I'll give an example. So for you that's going up hunting buffalo in the middle of this year, if you didn't have somewhere to access, a lot of those things, so whether it's even ground to hunt, or even transport, or there was other people that wanted to be involved, but I know people up there because I've been doing it for 15 odd years now. I could say, Tobias, I know what you're about. I've met you. I've done a podcast with you. Really love your ethics around, how you go about everything. I actually have a mate up there that can facilitate a lot of these things that you're chasing. And I can actually click on his profile, your profile, send a direct message to both of yous.
Yep.
And that links you together.
Right.
So right there, then you can start a direct messaging backwards and forwards. So there's no awkward phone call, or there's no awkward knocking on a door trying to meet somebody. No, you can know exactly what each other are about by either looking at each other's profiles, or communicating prior to even being on that trip. So I think that's going to be a really, really good feature.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Because I've got a lot of mates that I've linked them with other people through my experiences that I do that exactly through, like different platforms, whether it's WhatsApp or whatever it is, to cut that awkwardness of not being able to, get the message across, or not even, if you're the guy that's getting, that's doing the doing, to have somebody that knows that other person and knows what they're about to vouch for them. It's totally different than just getting a random phone call from somebody going, I'm Barry from down south. I know Josh, do you know Josh? And who the hell's Josh? So we're trying to break down that wall as well, and make it, the access to, things, because everybody knows everybody at some point. Like
7 degrees of separation.
It's amazing who knows who. And so they're the major parts of the app, and they've all pretty much come about through, traveling and experiences for me. Even this year, we were away this year. I was already in the process of building the app, and we had a fella that we met in the caravan park, and he jumped in, and we almost died because it blew up that bad of weather offshore. But we ended up shooting up a river system, and he wasn't an avid fisherman or anything, but we ended up getting him 10 fish for the day, and the biggest was 80 centimeter barramundi. They were all barramundi. Wow. And he was just like, this is unbelievable. Like, I only met you guys in the caravan park yesterday.
Yeah,
like,
that's once in a lifetime type fishing for some people. So
yes, 100%. And we got back to boat ramp, and he was trying to offer us to pay for this and offer us to pay for that. And we weren't even about that. We had a great day out too, and we'd enjoyed his company, and we're still talking now. So I've had countless experiences like this. And even with the bow hunting scene, I had a young fella the other day send me a message from down Mansfield way. Just he said, I watched YouTube, really like what you're about. I've got 12,000 acres down this way that I've got a heap of deer on. Would you like to come down and hunt it? And it's like, he doesn't even know about the app, because we hadn't even launched anything about the app at that point. But I was like, that is exactly what we're trying to achieve right there. So I sent him some hoodies and a bit of gear just because of that interaction that I had with him. Because it was pretty much a tick. The app is exactly what we're trying to achieve by the app.
And that's the sort of person that you're looking to get on. For those reasons.
And he didn't. There was no communication back with, oh, geez, you got a lot of pigs. Can I come and hunt your pigs? No, there was none of that. It was, I've got deer, mate, and I love it. And I even had a local guy here that's got some reds on his property at the moment reached out only a week ago and say, yeah, I don't let any other hunters on, but if you would like to come on, feel free to. So I think it's just more breaking down those barriers of a lot of people get very flighty on letting new people in or letting even just access to people that might do the wrong thing. But if somebody knows somebody through a channel, then they're less likely to be let down or do the wrong thing because they've been vouched by somebody else. And like that's what our hunting community is all about, and our fishing community. Like it's like we're one big family because we all hunt and we all fish. That's what we're about. That's our DNA. We so passionate about it that we're all out there to achieve the same thing. And if people on the platform know that, then they're more likely to engage and share experiences.
So is the app actually live now?
No, so it's not. So at this stage, it's June. It's been a long time in the making, Tobias. It's they don't happen overnight. And there's the front end stuff's pretty much all done. It's all the back end coding. That's what takes time. It's just so you can't get hacked or making sure everything flows into everything. And our app is quite a large app. We didn't want to overload people with the experience of the app with a heap of functionalities, but we thought a lot of them, like distance locators, you can punch in there that you're willing to travel 100 Ks. What's in my area within 100 Ks, and there could be 50 events for the day happening, but you might go 5 Ks and there's 1 or 2, and you go, okay, well I can walk to that. And then it's not necessarily, there could be somebody going down the beach to collect worms that if you've ever seen that done, it's quite an experience in itself. But it could be something as simple as that.
Whole art to it as well, isn't
there? Yeah. So no, it's not live at this stage. June, we do have a waitlist page running at the moment. It's a bit of an explainer page. It runs through a few of the functionalities. We are looking at this stage at giving quarterly giveaways, and although they're pricey and they cost us to initially set up, I think it's very important that we give these giveaways. They're not so much materialistic items; they're more experiences. So we want to give experiences away. So the first one's up fishing remote in Darwin for a week for you and a mate out on a boat. Guided fish, and I'll probably be attending just so we can get a bit of footage and bits and pieces that we can use. But they're the sort of experiences that we're going to be, hopefully that can flow into a bow hunt in New Zealand or whatever it is. But the more people we can get on, the more access to be able to give experiences and give people, these experiences they'll never ever get a chance to experience because they're not real cheap to go and fork out to go and do.
Yeah. Well, look, the next obvious question is, what are the costs involved?
So we went round in circles to try and work out what it fully looks like as far as having access to it. Do you make it monthly? Do you make it quarterly? Do you make it yearly? It's probably going to be a membership. It's the easiest way of doing it for what we feel the user is going to get the best experience. And I think at this stage, we're going to be doing monthly, quarterly, and yearly subscriptions to the membership. I think the yearly memberships will go into those draws of the big experiences, though. It's very hard to do. A lot of people would just access it for a month to go into the one that they want to get access to. So it's very hard that way. But we want to try and do yearly for the major giveaways. And at this stage, we're talking to a app app marketing team on the best ways of marketing and how to go about at the moment. So although it's not set in stone, it's going to be under $100 a year. That's where we're trying to get it as low as possible. It's going to probably send me broke for the first 3 or 4 years until it's starting to raise a bit of money to be able to, keep going with these giveaways and all that sort of stuff. But
Yep.
we thought it was very important to build a community based around the most amount of people that we can get on the platform early, and we don't want cost to play a factor in that. And $100, like $100 a year, so
not even $10 a month. So.
No. So and hopefully, if we can build it, we're going to be looking at doing, other things in the future where hopefully we'll be able to put some mapping in and just keep adding extra features. And we want the user to give us feedback, as much feedback as we can get, because good, bad, ugly, I don't care, as long as we can get better at supplying exactly what you guys want and what makes it easier for you guys to tick off that bucket list dream. That's where we want to be.
Yeah, right. Now, I think you said this before, but just reconfirm it for me. So initially it's going to be Australian based, but the plan is to move it out. So New Zealand might be your next sort of target species, and then who knows from there.
Yeah. So it definitely will be worldwide eventually. And the reason why I wanted to push it worldwide is I had exactly the same situations when I was in the States, when I was traveling over there for work, where I had 3 days of downtime. I've got on my bucket list that I want to catch a peacock bass, and I was in an area where that could actually happen. Right. And the charters that I was looking at were like $1,600 for the day, and I couldn't justify it. But I think back now and go, wow, if I had three days of downtime, I could have jumped on there, searched all the events that are happening in my area, and I could have been ticking off that item for as little as maybe shouting someone breakfast or not even anything changing hands. So we're really, really keen to push it out. The feasibility study showed that there's although there's lots of little niche bits and pieces with what we're doing here, there's not something that specific to what we're doing here. The feasibility said that that we didn't really have a lot of competition with all the things that we're doing. We've got competition with other platforms and bits and pieces, but not somewhere that has all these parts of the app, the 4 or 5 or the 6 major functionalities of the app. So we think that eventually it will push it out worldwide. The app development company only wanted to target Queensland for starters, but we're sticking with Australia. I think it's very it's small enough country to be able to push out and hopefully get a lot of people on it pretty quickly, because the more people that are on it, the better it works. Like it literally, it's based around the more on it, the more access to boats and experiences and knowledge and all the things that we're trying to share.
Well, look, I mean, Queensland's a great example because all of our hunting up here is done on private property. We don't have any public land access. So the number of years I spent trying to find someone that had a property that I could go to hunt deer on, and then et cetera, et cetera. If there's, like I said, if there's a way of shortcutting that and building the community, I remember the days, and you might be old enough to remember the days when somebody would do something for you out of the kindness of their heart, and they didn't want any money. And you used to repay them with a carton of beer or something like that. Just so a handshake meant something, and that goodwill that and then that developed into a mateship, and then because if you're going on a trip anyway, like I do a fair bit of solo hunting. If I'm going on a trip anyway, it's still going to cost me the same amount of money in fuel, whether I've got someone sitting in the passenger seat or not. So, if you can pay it forward a bit, and sounds like it's going to be the platform to be able to do that, then I mean, why would people not want to get on board? It's I think it's a great idea, mate, and that was really why I wanted to connect with you about this as well. And I love the logo, the motto that you've got there on the back: Hunt, Fish, Camp, Connect. I mean, that just sums it up.
Yeah, I got a mate that does all the clothing apparel, and he's like, what's your your hashtag or your catch line or whatever? And I was like, I don't know, mate. He's like, Hunt, Fish, Camp, Connect. And then I go, that is genius. And I said, what do I owe you for that, mate? He's like, so that's how that come about, and it just flows, and it's exactly what we're about. We're all there for the same thing, and it's just what you said before about the carton of beer. I love taking people out and for them to experience something new, or in turn being able to fast track their I guess ability to hunt better, fish better, enjoy their time away more. And obviously all the trips that I've done were very successful in through learnings, but not so successful in through actually killing something or catching something or whatever, because fishing's called fishing for a reason. It'd be called catching if it was.
That's right. Hunting's called hunting for a reason. Otherwise, it'd be called shooting. Yeah,
shooting.
That's right.
So, we believe in the product, and we, like I've harped on about that. It's a big investment for us, and we're not out there to try and make a heap of money off it. If we're charging people $100 a year, it's more about trying to build a community, and we feel that if somebody can experience what I've been able to experience with hunting, and it gets them off the couch and gets them into a different mindset. I think you and I might have spoken about this the other day, that bow hunting for me is almost like I'm in not a massively high stress level position, although at times it can be. When I'm out the bush, I don't think about anything other than being out the bush, and it's like a full mental reset for me.
Yep.
And it's pretty similar with fishing too, although it's not as I'm not as focused. When I'm in the bush, my whole nervous system, my whole everything gets a reset, and I want people to be able to experience what I can experience on I've got access to property, I've got access to a big boat, I've got access to, knowledge and everything, because I've gone and done the hard yards. I haven't just been handed to me. Yep. I've spent the money and I've done the Ks and put in the footwork. So I want people to be able to experience what I experience on a, yearly basis. I have mates all the time go to me, oh shit, that was a trip of a lifetime. I was like, yeah, I do it every year though. It's like, and they look at you like, yeah, you do actually. So we want people to be able to have access to all the things that we love, and that we want to, we want to get people off the couch and communicating and connecting again.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason I started the podcast too, is to help educate people into this sort of hunting that I love, and break down that sort of access barrier, so that people think they can't do it because they need this or need that, or where do I even start, sort of thing. So like you say, encourage people to get off the couch, take that next step, go out and give it a go, and learn from your mistakes.
Learn from mistakes, and hopefully build some lifelong friendships that like I've built over the years. I've got heaps of people up north and heaps of people all over the countryside that I've met in a caravan park and taken them out, or met at the local pub that you just get talking to, and I love that aspect of being human.
Yep.
And I think it's missing.
Yeah. Well, Josh, mate, I really appreciate your time. We've been going for the best part of 3 hours now.
Yeah,
so
we probably could do it for another 3 hours.
we probably definitely could. Yeah. So, look, I hope that this is hugely successful for you, mate, and I look forward to when it launches and goes live, and jumping on and having a look, and probably I dare say you and I'll be chatting more in the future, and we might even look at that next opportunity to get you onto another podcast.
Yeah, no, that's thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. When you reached out, any more exposure that we could possibly get, and then I found your podcast through you reaching out, and I've had a few listens to a lot of them, and got a lot of knowledge, and that's what the app's all about, sharing knowledge. So hats off to you guys that do the podcast stuff too. I see what Emma goes through with the podcast, and it's very, very demanding, and the editing and all that goes into it. There's a lot behind the scenes that people don't realize, that you put the hard yards in to try and share the knowledge, and you're not getting anything out of it. Like, it's you're literally doing it to try and share the knowledge with people. So hats off to
well, I mean, that's the reward for me is that sharing, and that, making those connections and so forth, and trying to, same as you, trying to bring people together and connect across this thing that we love doing. So
no, definitely.
The
if you want to check it out, if it hasn't launched in yet, you could probably find us on www.hookedupapp.com.
Mm-hmm.
That'll take you to the waitlist page, and there'll be all the information on there. So that'll give you access to what's happening, where it's at, the giveaways. We're running some waitlist page giveaways at the moment, which your Instagram followers would be able to see. So check us out there. But appreciate your time. Tobias.
And the Instagram profile is just hooked up. Hooked up app. All one word.
Yep. All one word.
Very cool.
And to follow my crazy exploits is on hooked on life _ on Instagram, or hooked on life on YouTube. We'll hopefully keep punching a few out there.
Well, look, I'll have all the links and info on the show notes here anyway, so people can find it easily. But mate, again, thanks heaps. It's been great chatting to you, not just today, but over the last few weeks. We've had more than one conversation. So good
we'll
stuff.
have to get you down with the bow, mate, and I'll take you and the boy out.
You can tell me everything I'm doing wrong.
That's okay. I'll do it softly.
Hey, thank you for listening in. If you'd like to contact me for a chat, pass on any feedback, or have some ideas for future podcasts, please reach out to me on Instagram at australian_hunting_backcountry, or email australian.hunting.backcountry@outlook.com.au. For now though, please look after yourselves and your mates.